Chapter 540. It had finally begun. I nearly couldn't take it anymore. The two young people who went up were really confident. They felt that they were the top of the younger generation. These two were disciples of mid-tier sections. To be able to participate in the competition confidently meant that their cultivation wasn't weak either. Under Lin Fan's bored gaze, the battle finally ended. There weren't any shocking scenes, just blade lights, sword shadows, sword energy. It was just a simple battle. Boring. Lin Fan turned his head and looked at the waves of cheers around him. He shook his head helplessly. It seemed like this was the life of a young man. Simple needs that were easy to satisfy. It was far from the difficulty that he needed to fight to make him happy. Dry boring. Looking at their excited expressions, he felt that it didn't fit in. The competition continued, and many strong disciples appeared. Brother Lin, look at these people. They're all geniuses from top sects, and they're so strong. Su Jing was really focused on the battle. He looked at these experts and compared himself to them. Some of them couldn't beat them. But even then, he didn't fear them at all. He didn't expect to get a good ranking in such a competition. He just wanted to know how big the gap was between him and those experts. Lin Fan gave a perfunctory reply. He had no choice. Since he said that, he could only nod his head in agreement. He saw the excitement in Su Jing's eyes and knew that he was totally mesmerized. In Lin Fan's opinion, a single sneeze from these members of the younger generation could cause them to disintegrate on the spot, turning them into ashes and disappearing from the face of the world. He looked at Su Yuanming and the others who were sitting on the stage. They were enjoying it and would comment on it. Those who won the competition walked off the stage with their chests puffed out, while those who lost were dejected and dissatisfied. Of course, it was normal for blood to be shed in a competition. What was advocated was to stop where it was appropriate, but there were also people who were ruthless. Many people trembled in fear and didn't dare to speak. Not long later, it is my turn. Su Jing was really excited. I will head up first. Senior brother Su, good luck. You will definitely win. Lin Fan nodded and smiled back. On the stage, Su Jing looked at the person in front of him and cupped his fists. Please guide me. He felt the blood in his body boiling. He had to go all out in the battle later. He wanted to prove that even if he was a disciple of a medium sect, his strength was definitely not inferior to a disciple of a top sect. The person he was facing was a disciple of the top sect, and he was confident in his own strength. As for Su Jing, he didn't care about him at all. He only cared about disciples of top sections. In an instant, a battle broke out. Lin Fan took a look and didn't have much to say. He just felt that the way they fought was a little flashy. If he were to go up on stage, he would just clap his hands and have everyone stand up. After a long time, to Su Jing, this was a tough battle. He didn't expect Lin Fan to be so strong. He was covered with many injuries and was in danger many times. Luckily, he didn't panic and dealt with the situation in time. Beautiful. At once, cheers and exclamations came from the crowd. They didn't expect a mid-tier sex disciple to win against a top-tier sex disciple. Although the process was difficult, a win was a win. Thank you for letting me win. Su Jing panted. He was really tired, but he still cupped his fists. That person looked at Su Jing in rage. He didn't expect that he would lose to a mid-tier sect disciple. That was just an insult. On the platform, sect leader Su, I didn't expect that such a small mid-tier sect disciple would actually defeat Wuxing. Su Yuanming smiled. Wuxing's path has been too smooth, so it is okay for him to suffer some setbacks. It will help his martial path. But I think that this junior is not bad. He is from Fallen Celestial Sect. I didn't expect that old kid to have such a disciple. Not bad, not bad. Su Yuanming didn't care about such a situation at all. Showing displeasure in front of them would only make them fall into their trap. So useless. When Guasian Island's top disciple Lei Gangtian saw this, he frowned unhappily. He recognized Su Jing. Wasn't he the mid-tier sect disciple who came to visit him yesterday? He didn't care about him at all. Who knew that junior brother Wu would actually lose to him? It was like he was slapping him in the face. Senior brother, Wuxing walked in front of Lei Gangtian and was a little embarrassed. But before he finished, Lei Gangtian interrupted him. Reflect on yourself. You actually lost to him. Scoff. Wusheng lowered his head. He was really unwilling, but he lost. What else could he do? In the distance. Senior Brother Su is amazing. I knew that Senior Brother Su could win. Haha, you really gave face to fallen celestial sect. The genius disciples of the top sects aren't that scary after all. I thought that there was an insurmountable gap between us and the disciples of the top sections. Su Jing's victory not only made them excited, but also made many mid-tier sect disciples pumped up. So, it wasn't impossible to win. Don't be careless. Actually, my cultivation is slightly higher than his. Su Jing said. He knew how terrifying Lin Fan was, and he nearly lost. If not for his strong foundations, it would have been hard to say what would have happened. Senior Brother Su, why are you saying all this? He won. Moreover, the top sect's cultivation techniques are much stronger than ours. Comparing them, there is no difference. That's right, that's right. Lin Fan waited quietly. In this period of time, he had seen something that only a main character would do. It was a disciple that no one had high hopes for, but suddenly he had shocked the world with a single brilliant feat, suppressing an opponent that everyone thought was invincible. It caused a huge uproar, but all of this wasn't important to Lin Fan. It didn't matter how he did it. His focus wasn't on all of that. He just needed to hurry up and wait for Zhou Ruo to go up. He needed the battle to end so that he could go up. Finally, he waited for Zhou Ruo to go up. Next, Guasian Island lay Gang Tian against Hanhua Palace Zhou Ruo. Uproar. Lei Gangtian was the top genius of Guasian Island and was definitely the strongest out of people of the same generation. As for Hanhua Palace Zhou Ruo, they had never heard of her. They felt like she was here to die. At that moment, Lei Gangtian Tiger, Bu Shengfeng walked up and locked onto Zhou Ruo. His eyes shone fiercely, so they were on the same side. Good. I will use your life to wash away the humiliation that Wu Sheng brought to Guasian Island. Zhou Ruo was nervous, but she wasn't afraid. Junior sister Zhou, wait. Su Jing stopped her. Junior sister Zhou, you aren't his match. It is best if you admit defeat. Su Jing didn't expect that Zhou Ruo would actually face Lei Gangtian. He was the genius disciple that they went to visit yesterday. For some reason, he had a bad feeling about this. He felt like Lei Gangtian wasn't someone who would show mercy. Lin Fan said, Brother Su's suggestion is correct. Junior sister Zhou, it is best if you admit defeat. You aren't his match, and he is just half a step away from God Essence Realm. If he has some treasures, even God Essence Realm won't be able to do anything to him. He didn't expect Guasian Island's top disciple to reach such a realm at such an age. It seemed like Guasian Island invested a lot. Zhou Ruo's face flushed red. The reason wasn't because of Su Jing's reminder, but because Lin Fan reminded her. She treated it as a form of concern. But because of that, Zhou Ruo gained more courage and made up her mind. She couldn't retreat and had to prove herself. Even if she wasn't his match, she wouldn't back down. Thank you, Senior Brother Lin and Senior Brother Su, for your concern. This is a rare chance, and I don't want to lose it. I also don't want to lose face for the sect because of me. Don't worry. If the situation isn't right, I will admit defeat. But now isn't the time. Zhou Ruo didn't fear anything. She stared at Lin Fan with her watery eyes and hoped for him to cheer her on. Lin Fan was helpless. He just mentioned it. So why did she look at him like that? She made him panic. Zhou Ruo, please come up. He urged. Zhou Ruo mustered up her courage and walked towards the stage. The surrounding disciples looked at Zhou Ruo and whispered to one another. This girl is finished. That's right. She is actually facing Lei Gangtian. She won't even know how she died. I hope that Lei Gangtian knows how to be gentle and not be too heavy-handed. Zhou Ruo faced the strongest disciple of Guasian Island and cupped her fists. I have heard of Senior Brother Lei's name. Please give me some pointers. Lei Gangtian laughed coldly. His gaze gave one huge pressure, increasing the pressure on Zhou Ruo. She had never faced such a situation. Just one gaze made her feel terrified. Zhou Ruo instinctively wanted to retreat, but thinking about how Senior Brother Lin was looking, how could she retreat? There was a clang. She pulled out her sword and waited. Your courage is commendable. Then, I will let you use all your strength. Maybe this is your last chance. Lei Gangtian said. Zhou Ruo was stunned and didn't understand what he meant. Just at that moment, the battle began. Zhou Ruo gritted her teeth and attacked. She used her sword technique, and instantly, sword light shone. Sword energy locked down Lei Gangtian's path. This set of sword moves caused the disciples below to exclaim. Who knew that this girl was actually so strong? They had underestimated her. On the contrary, Lei Gangtian didn't move at all. His expression didn't change at all. It was as if to him, these sword moves weren't worth mentioning at all. Beads of sweat appeared on Zhou Ruo's forehead. Although she didn't get close to him, when he stood there was an invisible pressure pressing down on her. Suddenly, a voice spread out. Like a kid, Lei Gangtian opened his mouth. His tone was filled with disdain, and he didn't care about what she was doing at all. What? Zhou Ruo was stunned like she had heard wrongly. Shortly after, Lei Gangtian stepped forwards and a thin body appeared in front of Zhou Ruo. He raised his hand and clenched his fingers into a fist. Light gathered on his fist, and he punched forwards. Kacha! The fist smashed the tip of the sword, and a shocking power exploded. The sword in Zhou Ruo's hand instantly shattered. A giant power spread forwards and smashed onto her body. Pucci! Zhou Ruo's body flew backward, and she spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. She landed on the ground with a thud. Instant kill. She didn't even have time to react. Everyone at the scene was stunned. They didn't expect Lei Gangtian to be so terrifying. Lei Gangtian smiled coldly. He lowered his head and looked at the broken sword on the ground. He used strength, and the sword flew towards Zhou Ruo like an arrow. If it hit her, naturally, she would die. Be careful, Su Jing and the others exclaimed. But it was too late. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Someone closed his eyes and couldn't bear to watch. How vicious. This was just a sparring session. Was there a need for this? Lin Fan shook his head. With a pung, he disappeared from the spot and appeared beside Zhou Ruo. He raised his hand, and with a flick, the space started to shake. That half of the sword seemed to have suffered from another power and flew backward towards Lei Gangtian. It was too quick. Lei Gangtian didn't react at all. He was still smiling. In his heart, the one who would die was still Zhou Ruo. Pucci! The sword pierced through Lei Gangtian's throat without a single drop of blood. When everyone came back to their senses, they noticed that there was a hole in Lei Gangtian's throat and large amounts of blood surged out. With a loud explosion, his body fell to the ground. Lin Fan waved his sleeves, and Zhou Ruo's body flew backward uncontrollably. At the same time, he healed her injuries and allowed her to land in the crowd. Sect leaders, long time no see. Do all of you still remember me? Lin Fan stood with his arms behind his back. His eyes shone with a provocative light. It was finally his turn to perform. Watching a bunch of kids perform, it was just so boring and boring. Chapter 541. There was an uproar. Lin Fan appeared and stared right at the Celestial Alliance elders. He didn't infuriate them, and instead shocked the disciples who were watching. Damn, what happened? Is Lei Gangtian dead? Someone tell me. I am afraid that I am blind. He is really dead. They didn't know what had happened. The girl was about to die. So how did it become Lei Gangtian? Moreover, he had turned into an ice-cold corpse. That was just too weird. Lin Xiaofan. Su Jing was astonished. He looked at the familiar yet foreign person on the platform with his mouth agape. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. It seemed like Lin Xiaofan's name was fake. At this moment, Su Jing understood that the Lin Xiaofan they met was just coincidental. They weren't from the same world at all. Lei Gangtian was killed by him. He died in one strike and was really quick. With their strength, they weren't able to react at all. If Lin Xiaofan wanted to kill them, they wouldn't even know how they died. They would just become corpses that were still warm. Senior brother Lin, Zhou Ruo didn't dare to believe it. Senior brother Lin, who they had only known for a short time, wasn't as simple as they thought. He wasn't a disciple from a sect, and he didn't come to Guasian Island to play. He had a shocking goal. At that moment, looking at that figure, she felt that his temperament had undergone a shocking change. From the calm and composed manner at the beginning to the current aura of sharpness. Just by looking at his back, it was as if an unshakable mountain had appeared in front of her. He was so majestic and tall. Suddenly, a terrifying aura that could rip apart heaven and earth spread in the area. To all the disciples, they only felt their ears ringing and their eyes turning black. It was like they were swaying on a giant ocean and their bodies were out of control. Lin Fan, Su Yuanming hollered in rage. His white beard danced in the wind. He couldn't help but stand up and stare at Lin Fan in rage. He didn't expect that there would be such an arrogant person in the world. It was okay that he was surrounded by them, but now he came to Guasian Island alone at the disciple competition that happened once every 3 years. Lin Fan said calmly, "Hee hee, seems like you still remember me. Your memory is not bad." Su Yuanming pointed at Lin Fan with a trembling finger and said in disbelief, "You actually killed my sect's disciple. You deserve to die." His heart ached. Lei Gangtian was really young, and his cultivation was really high. He was the publicly recognized top genius of Guasian Island. As long as he worked hard, the position of Guasian Island sect leader would be passed to him. But now, there was no need to say anything. He was gone. "Hold on, Sect Master Su. You're in the wrong for saying that. How can I, Lin Fan, be the one who killed your sect disciple? It should be your disciple who was plotting against me and was seen through by me. I should have killed him on the spot," Lin Fan replied. These words were infuriating. This was completely unreasonable. Anyone with a bit of conscience would never say such a thing. Rage points plus 999. Rage points plus 999. Sure enough, only by saying some outrageous words could one incur the wrath of others. At the same time, after the incident with Su Yuanming, he also came to a conclusion. Similarly, after a period of time, he would be able to gain more rage points from them. Lin Fan, just at that moment, someone raged. So, it was 100 Dao sect leader Qin Tong. This old man hated him no less than Su Yuanming hated him. At that time, he brought people from Evil Alliance to cause trouble in the sky above their sections. They fought viciously and destroyed their sections. As long as one had a temper, who wouldn't be furious? Sect leader Qin, why blame me? Grandmaster Qin, you don't have to blame me for what happened back then. I wasn't the only one who did it. If you've got the guts, go look for the Evil Alliance. But forget it. I've got to give you a target to vent your frustrations on. Your sect leader here has a good heart. If you're angry, come at me all you want. Ha ha! Lin Fan burst out laughing. Qin Tong was furious and wanted to fight Lin Fan to the death. But Su Yuanming stopped him right away. "Brother Qin, calm down. Don't fall for his trap," Su Yuanming reminded. This was Guasian Island. If they really fought, then what would happen? Even if Qin Tong was furious, he calmed down. He was right. This wasn't a good place to fight. "Supreme Saint sect leader, why are you acting like you don't know me?" Lin Fan turned and looked at the Supreme Saint sect leader, who was looking on coldly from the side. Supreme Saint sect leader hollered in rage. "Lin Fan, why aren't you staying on Marshall Path Mountain? Why are you here? What a joke. I can go wherever I want. I saw that you were holding competition, so I came over to take a look. Unfortunately, you were just SOSO. Compared to me, the gap is huge," Lin Fan said. At that moment, all the disciples were stunned. Who was this person? Why did he dare to be so arrogant? The people on the platform were all top sect leaders. He was just one person, and he dared to be so arrogant. Wasn't he afraid of being beaten to death? Shortly after, it was like someone knew who he was. News spread in the crowd. Very quickly, those who knew who Lin Fan was all raised their heads in shock. They were all stunned. Zhou Ruo and the others looked at one another. From their eyes, they could see that Lin Fan was someone they couldn't reach. "Lin, what do you want to do?" Su Yuanming scolded. "Damn!" Lin Fan scolded. "Damn!" He exploded on the spot. Everyone looked at Lin Fan with a look of awe, as if he was a big shot. He was facing the Guasian Island sect leader. Even if he scolded him, there was no need to be so violent, right? They were all people with status, so couldn't he give them some face? "You?" Su Yuanming was furious. When had he suffered such humiliation? If this wasn't Guasian Island, he would have fought him to the death. At the same time, he was really confused. What was going on with those people from Buddha Alliance? This kid wiped out Wangu Tower and caused huge losses to Buddha Alliance. Did they really not care at all? At that moment, Lin Fan slowly floated up and looked at everyone around. Celestial Alliance is just SOSO. All of you so-called sect geniuses are just SOSO. What are you looking at? Are you unhappy? In my eyes, you are just weaklings that I can destroy with just a thought. Kiki. Rage points plus 111. Rage points plus 999. Rage points plus 333. Lin Fan scolded the sect leaders, and many disciples were unhappy. Now that Lin Fan turned to them, it ignited the rage in their hearts. It felt good. He loved the feeling of rage points increasing. It felt really good. Look at the current situation. It was so good to be surrounded by a bunch of people. Of course, they had to thank Su Jing and the others for being able to survive when their rage points reached the max. If not for them changing his views, this place would have been a corpse ocean. Su Yuanming sucked in a deep breath. Lin Fan, did you come here to scold people? Right? I came here to scold people. Lin Fan looked at Su Yuanming and didn't hide anything at all. Okay, today is quite fun. Let's end it here. I should head back. All right, if you are unhappy, then chase me and fight me. Let me see whether or not all of you can kill me, or whether or not I should kill a few to sacrifice to the heavens. The moment he said this, Lin Fan didn't even turn his head. He didn't move quickly and just moved forwards at a normal speed. Su Yuanming stared at Lin Fan's back with a vicious gaze. He clenched his fists and was so furious that his body was shaking. He really couldn't take it anymore. Sect Leader Su, let's wait a little longer. The Celestial Alliance disciples are all here, and if a battle breaks out, it will be hard for anyone to survive. Golden Spirit Valley Sect Leader said. No matter what, they had lost all their face. No one knew why Lin Fan came here. He didn't attack and didn't do anything. Was he really here to scold people and look at the scenery around? They didn't think that way. He definitely had a goal, but they just didn't know it. But Lin Fan really wanted to tell them. Don't think too much. He came here to attract a wave of rage points. He didn't have any other intentions. All right, he just wanted to take some treasures. Zhou Ruo saw that Lin Fan was about to leave and instinctively wanted to charge out to stop him. But Su Jing saw through her thoughts and shook his head at her to tell her not to be rash. Otherwise, the outcome would be catastrophic. Everyone would think that they were related to him. When that happened, no matter what they said, no one would believe them. What Lin Fan didn't know was that his appearance caused many disciples to fall into despair. Too young. He wasn't even older than them. But what did he do now? He directly scolded the sect leader that they had been working so hard for. He didn't just scold one, but a bunch of them. They felt like they wouldn't be able to do such a thing in their entire lives. Maybe this was how ants couldn't compare to the heavens. Lin Fan walked further and further away and laughed out loud. Haha, as expected, you are all so cowardly. Celestial Alliance has so many peak experts. So are you really going to let me leave? Right? All of you are so cowardly that you don't even dare to fight the Alliance. So how would you have the courage to fight me? Juniors, remember me. Martial Path Lin Fan. I am a mountain that you can't cross in your entire lives. Dismiss all of you and go home to farm. Aha! Lin Fan laughed towards the sky. He sped up and dashed into the distance. He had earned a lot this time, and it was a good deal. Damn thing, kill him. Su Yuanming couldn't take it anymore and chased after Lin Fan. He knew that no matter what, he had to fight Lin Fan. If not only would he lose all his face, but he would also become a joke. Qin Tung had suppressed himself for a long time. Seeing sect leader Su chase, how could he not care? The other peak experts did the same. Lin Fan was a bully and made them lose face in front of so many disciples. With Su Yuanming leading the way, what did they have to fear? Not long later, the area in the distance shook. Shortly after, a shocking aura spread over. A battle started. It shook the area. Chapter 542. Celestial Alliance disciples didn't dare to get close. The ripples formed from the clash of powers had formed a deep abyss. With their strength, if they got close, they would instantly turn to dust. They wouldn't even have a chance to fight back and would just die. That was too terrifying. They could only look on from afar and sense how terrifying the power was. Junior sister Zhou, don't worry. You will be fine, Su Jing said. He was still shocked by Lin Fan's identity. He didn't expect that the ordinary-looking guy who followed them over would be so shocking. If Lin Fan knew what Su Jing was thinking, he would have smashed his head. Sect leader was so handsome, but in his mouth, he became so ordinary. It seemed that the requirements to be called mediocre were already so high. Sect leader Su, do we have to do this? Qin Tong felt really humiliated. Such shocking battle ripples were caused by themselves. Lin Fan wasn't even here. Su Yuanming said, we have no choice. We can't have a conflict with that surnamed Lin here. There are so many peak Dao realm experts, and the ripples would be unimaginable. Do you want Celestial Alliance's future to end here? Haze damn. Qin Tong was unwilling, but there was nothing he could do. Su Yuanming's words made sense. If there really was a conflict, if Lin Fan was dumb and didn't care and attacked Guasian Island, how many people would survive? At that time, even if they killed Lin Fan, the price they would have to pay would be terrifying. Now, the scenes looked really terrifying. But in truth, the peak experts were really weak. Their palms shook and they clashed with one another. They had to put on a show. They were helpless. Their face was a huge problem. How could they let Lin Fan come and go as he pleased? If there weren't any disciples around, they could just swallow their anger. But the disciples were all here and they witnessed it. If they didn't say anything, then it wouldn't make sense. When it ended, they could only say that they were nearly killed and that person escaped. That would be defending their pride as peak experts. Suddenly, not good, Su Yuanming's expression changed. He turned into a streak of light and headed towards Guasian Island. Sect leader Su, what happened? Everyone was shocked. They didn't know what actually made Su Yuanming so nervous. Shortly after, they frowned and had a bad feeling. Was it Guasian Island treasure hiding area? Bang! A figure was directly suppressed, lying in a deep pit. Old man, you really don't know your place. You just have to ask for a beating. Lin Fan curled his lips in disdain. He looked into the distance. A surging and violent aura swept over. It seemed like he had already been discovered. Originally, he was betting that Su Yuanming and the others were people who cared about their face and would chase him while he was far away from Guasian Island. But they wouldn't have an open conflict with him and would just act out a show. Who would have thought that his guess would be right? As long as Su Yuanming and the others really did so, he would be able to directly attack the root of the problem and reap a huge harvest, although doing so would completely offend Su Yuanming. However, he was fearless. He spoke as if he hadn't done this, and their relationship wouldn't be any better. The old man laid there, and his eyes rolled back. He said weakly, "This is where Guasian Island keeps their treasures. If you dare to steal, then Guasian Island will hunt you down." Old man, there's something wrong with your brain. Lin Fan felt that this old man's IQ wasn't that high. At this stage, if he was still afraid of his threats, would he still do this? Poochie. Maybe his injuries were too heavy, or maybe Lin Fan was too old, which was why he spat out a mouthful of blood. As for the exact situation, it was hard to say. At this moment, he couldn't waste time. Otherwise, before he entered the treasure area, he would have to face Su Yuanming and the others. In the distance, the disciples noticed that the tremors disappeared. Did the battle end? What happened to Lin Fan? Many disciples hoped that the sect leader would drag Lin Fan back like a dead dog. In their hearts, Lin Fan shouldn't exist. He was someone left out by the heavens and wasn't tied down. If not, how could someone reach such a realm at such a young age? How are they going to live in the future? Wouldn't they have to live in his shadow? They raised their heads and looked. Several people appeared in the air. It was the sect leader who had left not long ago. But they searched and didn't see the person they wanted to see. The battle had ended. Where did Lin Fan go? Facing the confused gazes of the disciples, Su Yuanming ignored them and hollered in rage. Lin Fan, how dare you do that? As he was too furious, Su Yuanming's eyes turned red and the veins on his neck swelled up. Flames of rage burned in his body. Ha ha! In the distance, a long rainbow pierced through the skies as Lin Fan stepped into the skies. Su Yuanming, oh Su Yuanming. To think that all of you would be so hypocritical. I really couldn't tell. Shock. The disciples were all stunned. Weren't the sect leaders fighting in the distance? How did Lin Fan appear in the depths of the sect in the blink of an eye? Who were the sect leaders fighting with just now? Put it down. Su Yuanming knew what Lin Fan did. That was the treasury where Guasian Island hid treasures. Lin Fan laughed. You are the Guasian Island sect leader, but you speak like a 3-year-old kid. You put down the things you got just because I said so. If I asked you to, would you? Strength is king. If you want to get back what you want, I will wait for you at Marshall Path Mountain. The moment he said this, Lin Fan didn't stay and dashed into the distance. How could Su Yuanming let him leave? Stop right there. Su Yuanming grabbed towards the dimension and wanted to grab Lin Fan. Lin Fan turned his head and slapped. The space shook and the two powers clashed. Wong. Shockwaves spread out in the space like a continuous wave. Sect leader Su, no. The sect leader was shocked and raged. He instantly blocked the ripples. If the ripples spread out, the disciples below would be wiped out. At that moment, Lin Fan's image was imprinted in everyone's hearts. To them, they had never seen such a domineering person. He was a role model for their generation, a role model for them to learn from. Their blood boiled. They were all of the younger generation. So why was he so amazing while they could only look up to him? They were unwilling and unwilling. They all wanted to become such a person. For Zhou Ruo, she had completely understood one thing. Senior brother Lin wasn't someone she could admire. In this life, she could only treat him as someone she couldn't reach. Su Yuanming didn't worry about them and chased. He definitely couldn't let him go. Otherwise, Guasian Island would suffer heavy losses. The other sect leaders looked at one another and hesitated. They all had their own thoughts. This happened in Guasian Island, and they were the ones who suffered. It didn't have much to do with them. From the start, Guasian Island had a high status and suppressed them. If Guasian Island could fall slightly, it would be a good thing for them and not a bad thing. Let's go and take a look. Then, everyone chased after him. As for having a conflict with Lin Fan, that wasn't a wise choice. Marshall Path Mountain. Phew, I am back. Lin Fan returned from Guasian Island. The process was a little complicated, but everything went smoothly. Nine Demon, does it feel good? Nine Demon shook its 9 heads to express the excitement in its heart. It definitely felt good. If it could speak, it would definitely say that it did all of this. Young Master Lin, what happened? Zhao Lishan saw that Lin Fan returned and walked over right away. He noticed that Lin Fan was really excited. It was obvious that he faced something outside. Otherwise, he wouldn't be like that. Lin Fan laughed. This is a long story. I made a trip to Celestial Alliance and coincidentally saw the top disciple competition that Celestial Alliance holds once every 3 years. I caused a ruckus there and also scolded the sect leaders of the top sections. I also stole Guasian Island's treasures. A simple sentence. Zhao Lishan's heart jumped when he heard it. He was really bold and did whatever he wanted. If someone else said such a thing, he definitely wouldn't believe a single word. Zhao Lishan said, the process was really dangerous. It is okay. It wasn't too dangerous. When I left, I fought with Su Yuanming and the other sect leaders and suffered some losses. But it is okay. They can't do anything to me. Lin Fan was really confident. Since City to now, when he fought against the 4 alliances, he had always been really confident. Zhao Lishan looked at Lin Fan. He said it really casually, but he knew that it wasn't simple. Young Master Lin, be careful in the future. If anything happens to you, it will be hard for me to explain. Zhao Lishan sighed. He had said it many times, but it didn't work. Young Master Lin had his own thoughts, so how could he listen to others? Lin Fan waved his sleeves, and the dimension ripped open. Large amounts of treasures fell to the ground like trash. These things are useless to me. Marshall Path Mountain will give them to whoever wants them. Zhao Lishan's eyes were attracted by the treasures on the ground. Too many, There were just too many. Did young Master Lin really empty out Guasian Island? It seemed like they really had a huge feud. Young Master Lin, then you. Zhao Lishan didn't want to know how Lin Fan cultivated. That was something that no one could understand. Lin Fan was calm, and hidden within was excitement. I am going into secluded meditation. Secluded meditation? Zhao Lishan was shocked. Young Master Lin was going into secluded meditation. Didn't that mean? He didn't dare to imagine how talented and terrifying he was to be able to create someone like young Master Lin. In the past, he thought that Lin Wani was a small motor in the cultivation world. But compared to young Master Lin, that small motor was just like a rusty motor that hadn't been oiled. Lin Fan said, "Once I come out of secluded meditation, the world will change. Everything will change. Things that I thought were impossible will become possible. The chaos will totally disappear, and Marshall Path Mountain will become. I won't tell you. Once I come out, you will know." He had gained a lot from the Celestial Alliance disciple competition. He didn't care about the sect's treasures at all. He didn't even have any status at all. The most important thing was that he had enough rage points. Returning to his rich family young master life was right in front of him, and it wasn't far away. Chapter 543, Celestial Alliance. Because of Lin Fan's actions, the once-in-3 years competition had ended abruptly in the hearts of countless disciples. They were really annoyed. To the disciples who could get first, they felt really bad. This was a good chance to show off, but who knew that such a thing would happen? Not only did they lose their worship, but they also suffered an even deeper blow. Their hearts hurt so much that they found it hard to breathe. Within a main hall, Peng, Su Yuanming smacked the table in rage, and the high-quality table broke into pieces. He was unable to accept such a scene. How does he dare to do that? He was really emotional, and when he scolded, his saliva splattered all over the ground. The image of a peak sect leader instantly collapsed. Luckily, there were no disciples around. Otherwise, when they saw the sect leader shouting so arrogantly, naturally, they would be disappointed. Sect leaders, this concerns the reputation of Celestial Alliance. How can we allow him to do that? I suggest that we join hands to attack Marshall Path Mountain. Su Yuanming wanted to pull all the sect leaders into the fight. It was unbearable for him. Usually, when such things happen to others, he would be really calm. After all, this had nothing to do with him. But now it did. He alone wouldn't be able to beat Lin Fan. So, his idea was really simple. He would gather everyone's strength. As the saying goes, when everyone is united, they can destroy everything. Sect Leader Su, calm down. Don't lose your mind. Qin Tong consoled. What a familiar scene. It made him think back to when Hunter Dao sect was destroyed and how furious he was with Su Yuanming. But what welcomed him? Comfort? Calm down? Rationality? This seat can go F***CK your mother. Who could understand the pain of losing a sect? Now, he was sure that sect leader Su totally understood. Sect leader Qin, how can you make me calm down? Su Yuanming raged. Qin Tong said, Sect Master Su, think about how I felt when my sect was destroyed. It was exactly the same as what you are feeling now. However, under everyone's consolation, I slowly walked out of it and opened my heart to accept this fact. Su Yuanming stared at Qin Tong. Sect leader Qin, are you blaming me for not standing on your side? But you have to know that the situation back then was very complicated. How could you fall for someone else's trick? Right, sect leader Su is right. We should focus on the big picture. But has sect leader Su thought about how Marshall Path Mountain isn't normal and has many experts? Even if we wipe them out, we will suffer heavy losses. Qin Tong didn't fight head-on with Su Yuanming. Instead, he returned the words that the Immortal Alliance had used on him to them. The sect master of Golden Spirit Valley nodded. Sect Master Qin is right. Immediately after, another sect leader agreed. Su Yuanming glared at everyone. Is this how you treat me? Qin Tong said, Brother Su, what do you mean? Our sects are united, and we sympathize with Guasian Island, but we can't just not care. Evil Alliance and Monster Alliance are staring aggressively. As for our ally, Buddha Alliance is even more unreliable. Look at Wangu Tower being wiped out. Buddha Alliance is doing anything? No, it's as if nothing happened. Qin Tong was prepared to fight to the death with Su Yuanming. What he meant was obvious. He was gloating over what happened to him. He would treat them the same way Celestial Alliance treated Hundred Dao sect. Su Yuanming's breathing became a little rushed. He knew that it was impossible to rely on their help. Who? Okay, since that is the case, then I will focus on the big picture. Su Yuanming's expression changed. He was originally furious, but now he wasn't shocked at all. It was as if nothing had happened at all. His attitude was just too good. Qin Ting looked at Su Yuanming and warned himself to be careful of Su Yuanming. He really could take it lying down. Such a person was the most dangerous. If he could hide, then he would. Who knew whether or not he would be conned to the point where nothing would be left of him? Instantly, Su Yuanming's understanding gained everyone's praise. To Su Yuanming, this kind of praise wasn't worth a single cent. At the same time, he bore a grudge against everyone. Bastards, I'll remember your actions. One day, you'll all regret it. Sect leader Su, now that the competition has ended, I will take my leave. The Golden Spirit Valley sect leader wanted to retreat. Just thinking about it, he pitied Su Yuanming. It was just too tragic. Lin Fan killed his way over alone and in front of all the Guisian Island disciples. He humiliated Su Yuanming and even took their treasures away. This was a huge blow that any top sect couldn't take. But this had nothing to do with them. Guisian Island suffered losses, but that was Su Yuanming's problem. Their true thoughts were a little terrifying, which was that they hoped that Guisian Island could be slightly weaker. Su Yuanming was expressionless. He cupped his fists and nodded his head. Shortly after, one by one, the sect leaders left the place. There was no point in staying here. They didn't want to listen to Su Yuanming grumble. The key was that they were afraid that Su Yuanming was dumb and would blame them for the sect's problems. There were fewer and fewer people in the hall. Slowly, only Su Yuanming stood there. He seemed a little lonely and experienced. He moved and stood at the entrance of the hall and looked outside. What should have been a lively competition ended just like that. The Celestial Alliance disciples left one after another. Some sect disciples came to eat and drink. They prepared melon seeds and drinks and watched the competition. But with the current situation, they felt like it wasn't suitable for them to stay. Guisian Island had just suffered calamity, so how thick-skinned would they have to be to stay? Su Yuanming was stunned. He looked on for a long while, and no one knew what he was thinking about. Not long later, he turned around and walked into the hall. He didn't know whether or not he cared about the coldness and loneliness outside, but one could say that. Guisian Island suffered heavy losses. Very quickly, news of Lin Fan causing a ruckus in Celestial Alliance's Guisian Island spread out. In this era, where news spread by word of mouth, to be able to spread this matter to everyone, it was enough to show how big of an impact it had. Evil Alliance, Monster Alliance, Buddha Alliance. When the three sides learned about this, they were stunned. They expected that Lin Fan would challenge the top sections. But they didn't expect that Lin Fan would appear in the top disciple competition that Celestial Alliance held once every 3 years. He would even scold them in front of all the top sect leaders. If someone else tried, they would definitely enter and leave lying down. When Guiyuan learned about this, he frowned and felt really suppressed. Even if Lin Fan went to Guisian Island to cause trouble, to Guiyuan, it was like a slap to his face. This kid has grown to such a stage. How terrifying. Guiyuan did think about killing Lin Fan, but he knew that it would be difficult. Now that the Celestial Alliance matter exploded, it actually made him feel like he had no confidence. He didn't hesitate. He headed to Guisian Island right away. There was some friction between the four alliances, but there wasn't any huge conflict. Until now, there was no progress. Guiyuan wanted to use others to wipe out the other sects in the four alliances, but he didn't gain much. He had thought about it, and it would take several years to complete. But a few years wasn't right. An anomaly had appeared, and if he didn't wipe it out, he wouldn't be at ease. Imperial Dynasty territory. Zhu Xiang led the army to occupy the city. At the same time, a bunch of recruited experts charged forward to deal with the Alliance experts in the city. The border was destroyed by the star-level energy. But the Alliance members in the city didn't retreat. Naturally, it was the best time to take down the city. Listen up, capture them alive if you can. Zhu Xiang said. He was really smart and guessed His Majesty's situation, but he didn't dare to ask. Anyways, he gave the order to capture them alive and then bring them back to His Majesty. Whether they lived or died had nothing to do with him. The imperial dynasty negotiated with the Alliance, and the land they occupied would belong to the imperial dynasty. But slowly, the Alliance went back on their words, and the imperial dynasty didn't even get any scraps. This infuriated everyone in the imperial dynasty. But the Alliance was too strong. With the current situation, how could they fight them? They could only slowly accumulate strength and wait for the time to come. Now, the time had come. It was time for the imperial dynasty to show their strength. Alliance headquarters. The meeting room was really quiet, and the atmosphere was really suppressive. In the huge meeting room, only the commander and Xiang Yuntian were there. You want to participate in the Alliance commander position? The commander's deep gaze locked onto Xiang Yuntian. Normal people wouldn't be able to handle such a gaze, but Xiang Yuntian, who didn't have much strength, was really calm. At the same time, he stared right into the commander's eyes. Right eye, Xiang Yuntian, want to participate? Xiang Yuntian said. The commander was expressionless, and his voice turned cold. You should know what you are doing. Are you trying to push the Alliance into the abyss? Just do your research. Those things aren't your own strength, and will always be fake. Do you think that you can stabilize the Alliance? Xiang Yuntian smiled. Gee, what is the point of saying all this? Whether or not the commander can lead the Alliance to a more prosperous future isn't something that can be said but done. I have researched for my entire life and changed the lifestyle of the Alliance. If you act like you didn't see that, then there is nothing I can do. The commander scoffed coldly. Improving the people's livelihood is just that. What we need is strength. Without strength, even if we improve the people's livelihood to the sky, it will just be a bubble. Kiki, strength? Who said that we don't have strength? Star-level energy is enough to prove everything. Any expert is just a paper tiger in front of it. Xiang Yuntian retorted. The commander sucked in a deep breath. He didn't expect that such a thing would happen. The college faction won't agree to it. Xiang Yuntian smiled. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they agree or not. As long as the research department and the people support me, they need a new future. They don't need a commander who keeps causing problems to lead them. There is no need to say anymore. You won't be able to persuade me. The moment I become the commander, I will solve the mess you left in front of all the people. All you need to do is watch. The moment he said this, Xiang Yuntian didn't say anything more. He got up and left. He was prepared. He had to get the position of commander-in-chief. Chapter 544. Marshall Path Mountain. Where did the unfilial kid go? Come out and see me. Lin Wani appeared at the foot of Marshall Path Mountain aggressively and walked up. He was really furious. When he learned that the unfilial kid went to Guasian Island to cause trouble, he was terrified. When he learned that Guasian Island was going to hold the Genius Disciple competition every 3 years, his face turned white. That unfilial kid didn't know. But how could he not know what was going on? The Celestial Alliance sect leaders would all be there. His head hurt. He actually had the balls to cause trouble there. Although he heaved a sigh of relief that he was fine in the end, he definitely couldn't allow such actions to fuel his arrogance. If he praised him, he might even be able to ascend to the heavens. This was why he definitely couldn't praise the unfilial kid and had to scold him. Otherwise, who knew what the kid would do next time? His heart really couldn't handle such pressure. Master Lin. Zhu Shun walked leisurely around Marshall Path Mountain. The moment he reached the entrance, he heard Master Lin's roar. Lin Wani calmed down his furious heart. Where did that kid go? Zhu Shun said. Master Lin, young Master Lin, is in secluded meditation. It has been a long time. He is in secluded meditation? Lin Wani was stunned. What is there for him to do? He has such strength at such a young age. So how strong does he want to become? Stop wasting time. Tell him to come out and see me. To Lin Wani, the kid definitely knew that the matter had gotten out of hand. He was afraid that he would come to find him. This was why he hid long ago and used the excuse of being in secluded meditation to hide. Zhu Shun said helplessly, Master Lin, young Master Lin is really in secluded meditation. He isn't hiding from you. Really? Lin Wani had a suspicious gaze. Zhu Shun, you are following me. I trust you, so don't lie to me. Master Lin, your words make me feel bad. I have followed you for so many years, and you still don't trust me? Zhu Shun might have turned into a pig, but when he felt bad, he was still really cute. His eyes were big and filled with tears. Lin Wani waved his hand. I didn't mean that. Don't think too much. But did you really go into seclusion? He really went into secluded meditation. Zhu Shun sighed. Master Lin's words were just too hurtful. Didn't that mean that he didn't trust him? At this moment, Sword Master and the others appeared. Brother Lin, they found it weird. Brother Lin was really hard-working when he came to Marshall Path Mountain. It hadn't been that long since he last came. But this was good too. Being able to see each other often gave him a sense of security. Sword Head, Brother Zhao, long time no see. How have you been? Lin Wani cupped his fists. Water Emperor was a little unhappy. Brother Lin, you treat me like I'm invisible. Lin Wani glanced at him and didn't take him hard. Traitor. They said that they would restore the imperial dynasty together, but who knew that they would follow their own son? How sad, and filled him with despair. Sigh. Water Emperor shook his head. Why couldn't Lin Wani see the current situation? Following your son would be the wisest choice. Zhao Lishan and the others smiled and chatted with Lin Wani. Only now did Lin Wani believe that his unfilial son was really in seclusion. Why was he in seclusion? He didn't think that he could improve at such a stage. Cough, cough. The divinator kept silent for a long while and felt that it was time for him to show off. If he kept a low profile for too long, people would think that he was really low profile. That wasn't something he was willing to see. I have something to say. The people who were talking turned their gazes towards the divinator and were really curious. Kiki, what is there to say about a fraud? Zhao Lishan didn't care about the divinator and treated him as a liar. The divinator ignored Zhao Lishan. He was too lazy to bother about this fellow who kept going against him. His cultivation was so weak, and he relied on others to survive. That was just so embarrassing. Lin Wani had a really low impression of the divinator. He personally invited him to come out, but he said that he was going to hide from the world and not care about anything else. It was okay if he didn't ask about it, but he didn't expect that right after he left, the divinator would run out and join his son's side. How was he supposed to show his face? How embarrassing. The divinator said, the moment sect leader Lin returned, I looked at the stars and noticed that 10,000 stars were gathering. A shocking light descended from the sky and covered Marshall Path Mountain. I looked at the aura of this place once more and noticed the shocking changes. This place can become a holy land and be worshipped by the world. The divinator's voice was filled with emotions. Every small movement on his face was filled with exquisite emotions. It was tough for normal people to learn the essence of it. Slowly, the divinator realized that their expressions were a little off. That disdain and suspicion dealt a huge blow to his heart. What is the meaning of your gazes? You don't believe me? The divinator rarely told others about this, as he felt that he was playing the zither to a cow. Now that he told Lin Wani and the others, he treated them as people who could understand him. But now, their expressions disappointed the divinator. It seemed like he had thought too much. Lin Wani said, let's stop here. It isn't good to say too much. When the divinator heard this, he was furious. He waved his sleeves. Forget it, forget it. It is all my fault. How can I force you to understand? The truth speaks louder than words. Open your eyes and see whether or not the future will be like what I said. Scoff. He was very pretentious and angry. Lin Wani didn't want to make things unhappy. What kind of nonsense was this? His head hurt. At the same time, he felt fortunate that the divinator didn't follow him out. Otherwise, something would have happened. On the surface, he believed everything the divinator said. But deep in his heart, he was suspicious. Lin Wani saw that Fan was in secluded meditation and naturally couldn't see him. He thought about it and decided not to stay here. But before he left, he instructed them to take care of this unfilial kid and not let him continue to cause trouble. If one walked by the river, one's shoes would definitely get wet. As long as he failed once, he would be using his life to try. A few days later, Lin Fan didn't need so long to go into secluded meditation. He just used rage points to raise techniques, so it wasn't difficult at all. The rage points he gained from Guasian Island were shocking, so it was inevitable for his cultivation to rise. The number of Dao patterns had increased from 127 to 160. When he reached 150, he reached Dao Realm Stage 5. He saw that he had a lot of rage points, and it was a waste to keep them, so he raised them all at once. When he reached Dao Realm Stage 5, the small support system didn't change. However, the merging function was not bad. He had already merged many of the techniques that he cultivated in the past, so it wasn't a waste at all. When one reached such a realm, the techniques that one cultivated were all from the 100 sections. Anyway, as long as it was a technique, then it was fine. In the next few days, he thought about life and also had a good sleep. His strength had reached such a stage, so he could start to act. Although he didn't follow the script, other people hadn't even reached such a realm, and he wanted to crush them. But after having the small support system, it was just too embarrassing to follow the script. But when he reached Dao Realm Stage 5, he realized that his strength did increase, and he should be able to suppress those old fellows. But he felt like he didn't have the ability that someone at Dao Realm Stage 8 should have. Forget it. Let's take things one step at a time. There is no point in thinking too much. Lin Fan got up and pushed the door open. He hadn't come out for a period of time, and the air was much fresher. Go Z, I am hungry. Prepare a table of good wine and dishes. Lin Fan shouted. Go Z, who was on standby, replied, Yes, young master. In the dining hall, Zhao Lishan and the others gathered around and locked their eyes on Lin Fan like they were observing something. They looked really closely like they were afraid that they would miss out on something. Lin Fan asked, Why are all of you looking at me like that? Do you think there are flowers on my face? Zhao Lishan said, Young Master Lin, how is your secluded meditation? Did your cultivation increase? He didn't dare to confirm young Master Lin's situation. At Dao Realm Stage 4, he could fight against Dao Realm Stage 7. Now that he improved, could he instantly kill Dao Realm Stage 7 experts? That shouldn't be possible, right? He felt like it was a little unbelievable. Small improvement. It isn't much, but it is enough to deal with the 4 alliances and the alliance. Lin Fan was really humble. He wasn't someone who liked to show off. Would he tell others that he had reached Dao Realm Stage 5? That was simply impossible. There was no need at all. Then, how much did you improve by? Zhao Lishan was unwilling to give up and asked. He really wanted to know how strong Lin Fan was now. But Lin Fan hid it really well. How could it be something that he would casually tell others? The only thing left for the crowd was that mysterious smile. That smile made them so anxious that they wanted to explode on the spot. Couldn't he just say it? There was no need to be so mysterious. At that moment, a streak of light struck from outside. Lin Fan raised his hand and grabbed it. It was a letter. Zhao Lishan and the others were shocked and wanted to chase, but Lin Fan stopped them. He knew who sent it. He opened the envelope and took a look. As expected, Zhun Ming sent someone to send it. The contents were simple, but it described that something huge had happened in the Alliance, and the fight for power had begun. The Alliance 9-star general might step down. The Tech Division Commander Xiang Yintian had a high chance of becoming the commander. Lin Fan was thinking about it. Zhun Ming wanted to cause trouble. During such a fight for power, many things would happen. Zhun Ming wanted to destroy the Alliance, so he wouldn't stop. Maybe he would arrange for people to cause trouble and blow things up. But all of that wasn't important to Lin Fan. He didn't care about all of that and didn't care who the commander was. He had already decided. He would solve the internal problems first and then the external problems. The era of the 4 alliances was about to end. But before that, nothing much. Let's eat first. Lin Fan tossed the letter to the side. He picked up his bowl and started to enjoy the delicious food. The letter was snatched by Zhao Lishan and the others. After reading it, their expressions changed as well. So, something serious happened on the alliance's side. Chapter 545. Another few days passed. Zhao Lishan was really curious. Logically speaking, after young Master Lin's cultivation increased, he definitely wouldn't be able to control himself and would run out to cause trouble. Who knew that young Master Lin would just stay in Marshall Path Mountain peacefully? He didn't go anywhere. He really saw a ghost. Back courtyard. Young Master, it feels good, right? Mu Gang was really skilled. It wasn't that any daughter couldn't serve people. It was just that they didn't work hard. Once they worked hard, then there was nothing else. Looking at those soft hands, it felt really comfortable when they pressed on his body. Not bad. It feels really good. Lin Fan praised. He realized that as long as he praised others, they would work harder. Mu Gang was a good example. This was why he wasn't stingy with words of praise towards Mu Gang. Even if he had nothing to say, he wasn't afraid of repeating himself. Mu Gang smiled and focused fully on her work. Young Master, do you need me to make some soup? Go Z stood at the side with a paper fan in his hand, waving it slightly. He took care of his young master's life from all angles and could be said to be a top nanny. Not yet. Lin Fan loved such a life of enjoyment. If he could return to U City, that would be the best. But he couldn't go back now. But it didn't matter. If he couldn't go back, then he couldn't. The current situation was not bad. He laid on the comfortable chair and looked at the sky while thinking about some things. Who should he deal with first? This question had been troubling him for a period of time. He first considered Buddha Alliance and Celestial Alliance. Who asked them to be so close to him? Moreover, their interactions with him were quite active. But thinking about Evil Alliance and Monster Alliance, it was okay. The one he had the least contact with was naturally Monster Alliance. They were quite mysterious. Forget it. He would rest well. As long as he headed out, the world would be at peace. In the future, there would be fewer fun things. Just thinking about it made him feel a little reluctant. It seemed like in just a short while, he would return to being a rich family young master, that boring and useless life. During this period of time, Su Yuanming's mentality was really unstable. Although Guan tried to calm him down, to Su Yuanming, such things still annoyed him. Now, Guasian Island had become a joke. To Su Yuanming, if he didn't take revenge, he wasn't human. Now wasn't the time for revenge, but one day in the future, he would definitely make the other party pay a heavy price. The alliance was in chaos. Those who supported Xiang Yuntian and those who supported the commander clashed. Originally, everyone was very restrained in this kind of conflict, and there was no fighting or bloodshed. Unfortunately, Zhen Ming was controlling in the dark. When both sides clashed once more, a fight broke out. At the same time, there were people who died, causing the situation to become more and more serious. In the hearts of many calm citizens, the alliance had changed. Even if the alliance headquarters announced many times that this was a normal competition and hoped that the citizens could calm down and not have any bloody conflicts, it was useless. No matter how much they said, they couldn't stop the people who were stirring up trouble in the dark. In the manner, Zhu Daoshan, are you really not going to come out? The alliance is in chaos, and if this continues, something huge will happen. Wu Zhiga came once more to persuade Zhu Daoshan to leave the mountain. But to Zhu Daoshan, he had already given up on everything. There is no need to persuade me. This is an internal matter of the alliance. No matter who becomes the commander is the same to me. Wu Zhiga said anxiously, what can be the same? If Xiang Yuntian becomes the commander, all of us who cultivate will be suppressed, and the college will focus on research. You have to consider the consequences. In less than 50 years, or even less than 30 years, without new blood to support the alliance will totally fall. Zhu Daoshan didn't say anything. He looked at his granddaughter, who was playing on the grass. Maybe because he saw something interesting, he smiled. He didn't care about what Wu Zhiga thought was a serious matter at all. You definitely know about what happened recently. I suspect that someone is controlling everything from the back. Wu Zhiga thought about it for a moment and didn't notice that Zhu Daoshan wasn't paying attention to his words at all. He continued to say his guesses. Zhu Daoshan said, it is the same no matter who is controlling it. It will eventually surface. Do you have anything else? If not, I just want to look at my granddaughter quietly. I don't have much time, and I don't want to waste it on unimportant things. Wu Zhige was stunned. He looked at Zhu Daoshun and heaved a sigh of relief. It was as if he understood something. Okay, since you were able to keep your head, I am at ease. I hope that you can understand that no matter what happens, we are the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance. Our mission is to protect the Alliance. After saying all this, Wu Zhige didn't say anything else. He knew that Zhu Daoshun definitely knew what was going on. He knew the importance of the matter. Wu Zhige left. When he passed the little brat, he stopped and took a look. The little brat turned around and smiled at Wu Zhige. But to Wu Zhige, that smile was filled with uneasiness and danger. Zhu Daoshun was playing with fire. As a mastermind, when Zhun Ming saw that the Alliance was in chaos, he felt really good. He felt like his blood was about to spurt out. It was just so exciting. As for Ocean Emperor Island and Hell Mountain working together to snatch the fruits of the Alliance, all of that wasn't important. What he hoped to see was for the Alliance to collapse and for those damn people to pay the price. Anything that happened in the outside world wasn't important to him at all. On that day, a storm raged on Marshall Path Mountain, and a willpower that could flatten the world exploded. Although no one could see this willpower, as long as Lin Fan could sense it, it was enough. Go Zi was the most familiar with Young Master, and he could sense that Young Master was tempted. Young Master, are we heading out? Go Zi asked. Lin Fan said, I have rested for long enough. It is time to head out. Let me tell you something. This time, the world will change, and I will become a legend. Go Zi felt like his brain wasn't strong enough. He had no idea what Young Master was going to do. Lin Fan had already thought about it. He would start with Buddha Alliance. Removing one alliance would be a huge blow to the other three. He would let them know that sometimes, even if they didn't come to find him, he would find them. Did they really think that if they didn't offend him, they would be fine? Also, his father wasn't efficient enough. He wanted to restore the imperial dynasty, but his strength didn't allow him to do it alone. Since that was the case, then he would let his father see his ability. Very quickly, Lin Fan disappeared from Marshall Path Mountain. Nine Demon realized that Master had heartlessly abandoned him. He was so anxious that his 9 heads shook in the air. Although he didn't know what he was shouting about, but he could roughly guess it. It should be, you became stronger and then abandoned me, just like that. You scum. Buddha Alliance, 6-wheel ancient temple. Top sect. Old ancestor Dao Ling, one-eyed dragon. Last time, he followed the other Buddha Alliance sects to talk to Lin Fan. Not long after, he was ahead over to suppress him. Just thinking about it felt really interesting. At that moment, Lin Fan floated in the air and said, I am Marshall Path Sect's Lin Fan. Why aren't you coming out to welcome me? His voice was like thunder, exploding on the ground and spreading throughout the sect. When old ancestor Dao Ling, who was cultivating, heard that, he was furious. Who was so bold to actually dare to behave so arrogantly in 6-wheel ancient temple? But when he heard that it was Marshall Path Sect's Lin Fan, for some reason, his heart shook, and he actually felt fear. But that fear quickly dissipated. Scoff. As the Grand Master of the 6 Wheels Ancient Temple, this old man was a powerful being at the pinnacle. No matter how strong Lin Fan was, he had no choice but to behave himself after coming to this old man's territory. Before he headed out, he called all the experts in the sect to head over. Anyway, to him, he didn't come with good intentions. Lin Fan waited quietly and ignored the shocked gazes of the disciples. He was quite famous. Since the Celestial Alliance matter, everyone knew about him. Everyone knew that Marshall Path Sect's Lin Fan was a vicious person who caused a ruckus over at Celestial Alliance and was perfectly fine. Now that such a ruthless person had come to the 6-wheel ancient temple, many disciples were panicking. Shio! Several people struck out from the depths of 6-wheel ancient temple. Why did sect leader Lin come to my sect? Old ancestor Dao Ling smiled and asked. Naturally, he couldn't put on a stern face right away. Maybe sect leader Lin was just passing by. Why did he have to cause such a ruckus? The elders beside old ancestor Dao Ling looked at Lin Fan warily. Some of their eyes shone with curiosity. What kind of person could cause such a ruckus in Celestial Alliance without harming himself? He even wiped out Wangu Tower, and Buddha Alliance couldn't do anything to him. Lin Fan said, "Old ancestor Dao Ling, please be more serious. I have something important to tell you." When old ancestor Dao Ling heard Lin Fan's words, he panicked a little. He retracted his smile and said solemnly, "What does sect leader Lin want to say?" He felt that something was off. He hoped that he was thinking too much. Lin Fan looked down from above. "Come out and die. There is no need for six-wheel ancient temple to exist. From today onwards, it will no longer be a Buddha Alliance sect. This is what I want to tell you." Shock, silence, uproar. Everyone opened their eyes wide like they had heard wrongly. What did he say? Their ears weren't working. Could someone repeat what he said? Old ancestor Dao Ling's expression changed, and his tone became dark and sunken. "Sect leader Lin, are you joking with me?" "Who is joking with you? I am telling the truth. You dying and disbanding the sect is my greatest gift to all of you." Lin Fan said slowly. He was really helpless. Why did he have to say that he was joking? Was it because he looked so kind that he didn't dare to believe it? Old ancestor Dao Ling was furious. "Surnamed Lin, don't be a bully. Celestial Alliance can't do anything to you, but don't think that Buddha Alliance can let you do whatever you want. If you leave now, I can treat it like nothing happened." Suddenly, Lin Fan raised his hand and pressed down. There was a loud explosion. A building in the distance collapsed and turned into ruins. "What about now?" Lin Fan said. Chapter 546. Old ancestor Dao Ling found it hard to breathe. He was angered by Lin Fan. "You came for real." Because he was too angry. Old ancestor Dao Ling's tone became weird. It was as if someone was strangling his throat. "How can it be fake?" Lin Fan smiled. To him, old ancestor Dao Ling was a coward. If he truly had the strength, why would he even bother spouting nonsense? He would have long taken action to teach Lin Fan a lesson. He wouldn't give him any chance. "You're going too far. You're infuriating me." Old ancestor Dao Ling hollered in rage. This was the biggest humiliation six-wheel ancient temple had suffered in the past few centuries. If the martyrs in the afterlife know of this, he would have opened the coffin lid long ago and pinned Lin Fan to the ground, giving him a good beating to teach him a lesson. The disappearance of the six-wheel ancient temple today is inevitable, and no one can stop it. I can see that it's not easy for you to cultivate, and you've lived for so long, so I'll give you a chance to shine. Come, show me what you've got, or else you won't be able to die in peace." Lin Fan said faintly. He didn't want old ancestor Dao Ling to live. As long as he was alive, the Six Wheels ancient temple would continue to exist. The Six Wheels ancient temple would only disappear from the world if he died, and the group of dragons would be left without a leader. Although the current situation was somewhat deceptive, there was no other way. Who asked you to be the sect leader? At the same time, you had ulterior motives. If you didn't die, who else would? Right now, Lin Fan was like a gigantic mountain that was pressing down on everyone's hearts. Old ancestor Dao Ling really didn't understand how one person could say such words. If the Water Emperor and the others came, it could even make him worry. After all, the peak experts far surpassed those of the Six Wheels ancient temple. But now, let's attack together and take him down. The Six Wheel ancient temple is not a place that can be easily bullied. Old ancestor Dao Ling hollered in rage. His rage couldn't be extinguished. He wanted to talk to Lin Fan, but since Lin Fan didn't cherish the chance, he couldn't be blamed. Buddha Alliance tolerated you not because they feared you. It was just that they didn't want to make unnecessary sacrifices. Instantly, old ancestor Dao Ling's aura was like a rainbow that covered 100 miles, 1,000 miles. The elders of the Six-Wheel ancient temple glared at Lin Fan. This is not a place where an arrogant person like you can act presumptuously. Even though the disciples of the Six-Wheel ancient temple were afraid of Lin Fan, they were bound together for good and bad. Now that Lin Fan was bullying their sect, They would be the laughing stock of the world if they didn't retaliate. They shouted in their hearts. The sect master steadied himself. All the best, Elder. He wanted to beat up this guy who dared to come to the Six-Will ancient temple and cause trouble. On the other hand, Lin Fan was extremely calm. He just stood there calmly in the air, completely unbothered by the phenomenon around him. That pair of eyes that showed concern for the weak were like sharp swords that pierced through the weak hearts of everyone. Suddenly, a melancholic disciple said in the crowd, "He's pitying us." As soon as he said this, he immediately shut up. His mind was blank, and he was a little confused. How could he say something like that out of nowhere? Lin Fan felt that he had really become stronger. If it was in the past, he would definitely pay more attention to it. But now, he felt that there was no need to do so. Lin Fan, you're courting death. You can't blame anyone else. Old Ancestor Dao Ling's aura reached its peak, and a terrifying killing move was formed. The surrounding elders were the same. Their cultivation wasn't at its peak, but they weren't weak either. They were willing to help suppress Lin Fan. They were willing to merge their own strength with the sect leaders to let Lin Fan feel how strong they were. The moment he said this, a bright light shone on the area, causing the entire area to shake. In the blink of an eye, it covered Lin Fan. Old Ancestor Dao Ling scoffed coldly. His deep gaze was fixed on a distance. He knew that Lin Fan wouldn't die, but he definitely wouldn't feel good. He had underestimated him from the start, and he would pay a heavy price. The Six-Will ancient temple disciples felt a gust of wind strike them, and their bodies shook uncontrollably. This was the strength of an expert. As expected, it was so terrifying. Very quickly, the light dissipated. That's it. Lin Fan was still floating in the air. He raised his hand, and steam rose from his fingers. It was obvious that he had used his hands to block the terrifying power. How was that possible? Old Ancestor Dao Ling's eyes opened wide like he had seen a ghost. There was only one thought in his heart, which was that it was impossible. Looking at their shocked expressions, Lin Fan sighed in his heart. This was the effect that happened when the gap was too huge. Old Ancestor Dao Ling was filled with disbelief. He knew that Lin Fan was strong. But even if he was strong, he was only at Dao Realm Stage 7. He had seen Lin Fan fight before. So how did things end up like this? Old Ancestor Dao Ling, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. I'll give you one more chance. Take out the aura of the Six-Will ancient temple sect leader. Look at these disciples. They're going to part ways with you soon. Perform well and leave a deep impression in their hearts. Maybe one day, they'll be able to remember your stubbornness. Lin Fan felt that he was too kind. He had always been willing to give others a chance. If it was someone else, they probably wouldn't have been so kind. Damn. Old Ancestor Dao Ling was shocked and furious. He was shocked by Lin Fan's strength and furious that Lin Fan mocked him once more. An expert had his own pride. How could he allow others to humiliate him? Suddenly, a shocking scene happened. At that moment, Old Ancestor Dao Ling's situation was a little off. A mysterious aura spread out from all around Six-Will ancient temple and gathered behind Old Ancestor Dao Ling. Interesting. Lin Fan sensed a shocking aura gathering together. As expected, the foundations of a top sect couldn't be underestimated. Old Ancestor Dao Ling stared at Lin Fan in rage. I admit that you are strong, but your outcome has already been decided. You shouldn't have come here to cause trouble. What awaits you is worse than death. Six-Will's secret technique. At that moment, after Old Ancestor Dao Ling shouted those words, the sky started to shake. The gathering aura turned into 6 moons. They were of different colors, but each of them gave off terrifying power. This wasn't the end. The situation changed once more. Each moon had a Buddha sitting on it with a dignified appearance. The Six-Will ancient temple disciples were stunned. They had never seen such a move before and didn't know that the sect had such a trump card. Old Ancestor Dao Ling stared at Lin Fan and waved his sleeves. The 6 moons spun forwards and instantly disappeared. It was as if they had entered an undetectable space. Wong Wong, although he couldn't see the moons, he could sense the dimension and the space shook slightly. Lin Fan felt like he was being locked on. He looked at old ancestor Dao Ling's confident expression and knew that old ancestor Dao Ling thought that this matter was over. Instantly, Moon appeared behind Lin Fan out of nowhere. It just appeared out of nowhere, and the dimension didn't even rip open. Pung! The full moon chakram struck Lin Fan's body, and a terrifying force was transmitted over. For Lin Fan, there was indeed some feeling. But when the thick Tao energy within his body started to rumble, all of the discomfort vanished into thin air. In fact, this full moon merely left some white marks on his skin. Dual cultivation had reached Tao Realm Stage 5. He thought that he would be slightly injured, but now it seemed like he had thought too much and wasn't confident enough in his own strength. Old ancestor Dao Ling laughed coldly. He believed that no one could block the 6 moons. Even if Lin Fan's strength was shocking, that was the case. Suddenly, old ancestor Dao Ling's eyes opened wide, and his eyeballs were about to pop out. So, Lin Fan found the moons annoying. Since he couldn't break them, then why didn't he scram? Who knew that they were still buzzing around like mosquitoes? He reached out his hand and grabbed the crescent moon impatiently with his hand made of flesh. He used strength in his fingers. With a kacha, the full moon wheel shattered, and the Buddha sitting on the full moon wheel vanished into thin air. Lin Fan then punched out with his fist, causing the entire space to tremble. The remaining crescent moon could not withstand this amount of power at all, and cracks started to appear on its surface. Like a mirror breaking, the cracks became denser and denser. No! Old ancestor Dao Ling went mad, and his eyes turned red. He looked on as the 6 moons shattered. It was like his flesh was being sliced, and his heart was in pain. How long? The moment the 6 moons shattered, a destructive shockwave spread out. The 6 moons contained Dao patterns, and they were smashed by Lin Fan. They were unable to maintain their stability and exploded. Lin Fan didn't underestimate 6-wheel ancient temple, and he was shocked. When old ancestor Dao Ling used that move, he knew that if it was in the past, it wouldn't have been so simple, and he would have definitely been injured. But the past was the past, and the present was the present. He missed it, and in the end, he still blamed the wrong person. Even if he regretted it, it was useless. Old ancestor Dao Ling, it is time to end this. That should have been your strongest move. Let me praise you. It is not bad, and it is a strong move. Lin Fan smiled. But to old ancestor Dao Ling, it was a huge blow. 6-wheel ancient temple's strongest move was actually just a decent move from Lin Fan's mouth. Pucci, for some reason, maybe because old ancestor Dao Ling was furious, he spat out blood from Lin Fan's words. His aura was weak, and he couldn't recover for a long time. All the elders were shocked. They didn't expect this to happen. Old ancestor Dao Ling was unwilling, and his heart was covered in terror. He raised his head and said, "Sect leader Lin, do you really want to wipe out my sect?" Lin Fan said, "No, I am not wiping out your sect. I am wiping you out and disbanding the sect." Damn. Old ancestor Dao Ling knew that he was going to die, and he didn't beg. He just stared at him in rage. "I am so hateful. Why didn't I kill you? Buddha Alliance, Celestial Alliance, they are so stupid. You are just an insatiable wolf. I'm going to fight you to the death." Old ancestor Dao Ling hollered in rage and charged forwards unwillingly. Lin Fan looked on calmly. Right as old ancestor Dao Ling got close, he raised his hand and slapped down. How long? There was a pung. Old ancestor Dao Ling screamed, and his body collapsed. Numerous Dao patterns shot out and returned to heaven and earth. Silence. Lin Fan exhaled. The sky was silent once more. All of them couldn't understand the joy of becoming strong. Chapter 547. Old ancestor Dao Ling left the world with unwillingness and regret. He lived for hundreds of years with much difficulty. With dissatisfaction towards this world, he quietly left. Cough, cough. Lin Fan coughed lightly a few times, pulling the terrified crowd back to reality from their reverie. The 6-wheel ancient temple elders looked at Lin Fan and tried to search for the sect leader. They didn't find anything and turned their gazes towards Lin Fan. But when they looked at Lin Fan once more, the faces of the elders changed. They were filled with terror. Uneasiness exploded out in their hearts. "Let us off, sect leader Lin, let us off. We didn't do anything evil. Sect leader Lin, please let us off on account of our age." The elders were all acting experts. They knelt on the ground, and the moment they opened their mouths, tears flowed down their cheeks. They looked like they were saying that they were innocent, based on what Lin Fan was thinking. Naturally, he wanted to wipe out the sect. The bunch of them should follow the sect leader. But forget it. Why did he kill so many people? He wasn't a killing maniac. He just had to kill the main culprit, and he didn't mind letting the rest go. The key was, he was really afraid that he would kill all the experts and enter an era without loss. If that happened, the situation would be really boring. If he let these people go, he could spread his existence and increase his reputation. In the future, if these people took in disciples, they would treat him as their top enemy. Just thinking about it felt good. It was so rare for people to remember him. Go. All of you are so weak, and I can't be bothered to attack." Lin Fan waved his hands like he was chasing away some shameful things. The moment he said this, it was like a gift from the heavens. They bowed their heads and thanked him. They didn't even bother about the sect disciples. Of course, some elders were unwilling, but what else could they do? They could only lower their heads and leave. Lin Fan looked at the backs of the elders and thought about some things. These elders wouldn't let this go. They would definitely head to other sects to report about the situation here. It didn't matter. They saw through it and didn't care. Just at that moment, a furious roar spread out from behind Lin Fan. Die. So, it was the strongest disciple of the Six Wheels ancient temple. Looking at how their grandmaster had been killed and how their sect had been destroyed, he was infuriated and wanted to fight Lin Fan to the death. Lin Fan turned around and didn't do anything. He squinted his eyes, and a terrifying gust of wind exploded. It instantly enveloped the other party. The disciple stopped abruptly. His hands and feet were bound, and he couldn't even lift a finger. A gust of astral wind, like a sharp blade, sliced open a wound on the other party's face. Blood flowed out, but when paired with the other party's unyielding expression, it did make one feel somewhat emotional. When the power disappeared, to him, it was as if he had just come out of a pool. His whole body was wet, and he couldn't help but tremble. Remember this scar. It was left by me. In the future, it will be the glory of your life. Lin Fan knew that any of the top sects would have their own geniuses, and this man before him was one of them. He had set his sights quite high now. So what if he was a heaven's chosen one? If he didn't grow up, he would still be trash. Lin Fan, you've killed my grandmaster and destroyed my entire sect. I'll remember this grudge in my heart. If you don't kill me today, I'll make sure you pay the price for it in the future. The genius disciple glared at Lin Fan with bloodshot eyes. Others might not dare to resist, but he did. Even if he was killed now, he wasn't afraid at all. 30 years later, I will find you to take revenge. The surrounding disciples shuddered. They were about to curse him to death. He could leave with his life, so why did he have to provoke him? You want to die, but we don't. 30 years. Lin Fan smiled. 30 years is too long, and I'm afraid that I will forget you. Forget it. I will give you 30 years. If you still have the guts to find me, I can let you live. After so long, I have never seen such a weak person who dares to stand up to me when others are afraid. Not bad. Tell me your name. Maybe I'll remember you. Lin Fan asked. His decision was correct. Keeping these disciples alive would make things more interesting in the future. He didn't want no one to be willing to fight him in the future. He loved the feeling of being remembered by others. Maybe such thoughts would make one feel like a lunatic. But that was what Lin Fan thought. At that moment, the genius disciple hollered in rage. Sixwell Ancient Temple Reincarnation Peak Disciple, Yuan Hong. This shout caused Yuan Hong's rage towards Lin Fan to explode. Yuan Hong. Yeah, I will remember this name. All of you can leave. From now on, Sixwell Ancient Temple will totally disappear. Lin Fan said slowly. The current situation was just an insignificant matter among all the things that had happened. Senior brother Yuan, let's go. A disciple pulled Yuan Hong. It was good enough that they were able to keep their lives, so they couldn't be too greedy. If Lin Fan regretted it, it would be tough for them to leave. Senior brother, where there is life, there is hope. One day, we will definitely come back to take revenge. The person who said this was really soft. How would he dare to console him? He really didn't want to die. Yuan Hong was unwilling and left under the tugs of his junior brothers. Very quickly, the originally noisy six-wheel ancient temple became really cold, and one couldn't see a single person. Another Buddha Alliance top sect disappeared. They are progressing really quickly. This is a good start. Lin Fan felt really good. This was how the rhythm came about. Maybe in just a short while, Buddha Alliance would find out about what he had done. Then, the three alliances would find out too. He wiped out one or two top sections. They might still think that they were lucky and think that it had nothing to do with them. But slowly, when more sects were wiped out, he wanted to see what they would think. This building is not bad. Six-wheel ancient temples buildings were really special, especially the one in the middle. 6 moons formed, and like there was a power pulling them, they spun around one another. He collected them. He had to collect all the treasures too. The techniques were the same. Lin Fan moved really quickly. He collected everything that he needed and left everything that he didn't need there. A decent sect, but there's no need for it to exist anymore. Instantly, a destructive pressure shrouded the area. The 6-wheel ancient temple, which was as good as new, instantly turned into ruins. The collapsed buildings proved that this was a very good sect just a second ago. In the distance, Yuan Hong heard the voice from behind and knelt on the ground in rage. He hammered the ground with his fists and hollered in rage. The surrounding disciples sighed and shook their heads. They didn't know what to do. At the same time, there was nothing they could do. They couldn't help at all. They were too weak, and in Lin Fan's eyes, they were just slightly stronger than ants. Senior brother, things have already happened, and there is no way back. Right, Martial Path Mountain Lin Fan is too strong, and even the sect leader isn't his match. Do we have any hope of taking revenge for the sect? They were at a loss. Yuan Hong lowered his head, and his eyes were bloodshot. A hoarse voice came from his throat. Hope. As long as I am alive, there is hope. If 30 years is not enough, then 50. I don't believe that I can't become a peak expert in my life. His feeling for the sect weren't something that other disciples could compare to. But can we catch up? A disciple said softly. The gap was already so huge, and in the future, it would only get bigger. It was probably impossible in this lifetime. Yuan Hong was firm and said firmly, we can. Tao Realm Stage 7 is the end. As long as I cultivate to Tao Realm Stage 7, I will be able to take revenge for the sect. He got up and looked at the many junior brothers. I won't follow all of you. I'm going to cultivate. Being sad and depressed is just a waste of time. His gaze was firm, and he had already thought about his future path. At the same time, he touched the scar on his face. Glory? I will return this honor to you in full. Martial Path Mountain. Zhao Lishan and the others were totally numb. If they guessed correctly, this building belonged to Six-Will Ancient Temple. Where did young Master Lin get it from? Instantly, a bold idea formed in their minds. There was a loud explosion. Lin Fan placed the building in the empty space of Martial Path Mountain. He looked left and right and nodded his head in satisfaction. Not bad. Placing it here caused the entire Martial Path Mountain to become different. It became high-end, majestic, and high-class. Along with the ancestral tower, they each had their own specialties. Young Master Lin, this is from Six-Will Ancient Temple. Zhao Lishan asked. Lin Fan said, you are right. It is theirs. Don't think too much. There will be no Six-Will Ancient Temple in the future. His words were really simple. But to Zhao Lishan, it was shocking news. As expected, he was right. Young Master Lin really wiped out Six-Will Ancient Temple. If not, why would he give the building away? Lin Fan saw that everyone was stunned and didn't mind telling them some things. Starting from Six-Will Ancient Temple, I will disband all the top sects in Buddha Alliance. In just a short while, Buddha Alliance will cease to exist. Then, the other 3 alliances will follow. Zhao Lishan and the others felt like they were listening to a heavenly book. Their minds were filled with question marks. Where am I? What did he mean? They didn't understand? Lin Fan knew that they wouldn't be able to accept such explosive news. He didn't blame them and was willing to give them some time to recover. He returned to the sect to place the things down. At the same time, he gave Buddha Alliance some time to prepare themselves. Buddha Alliance. Sect Leader Gu, you have to help us. The elder of the 6 wheels, ancient temple, had tears and snot all over his face. He cried and wailed as if he had been greatly wronged. Gyuan's expression was really ugly. Is what you said true? It's absolutely true. We've already been chased out. He's a devil. He killed our patriarch right in front of us, and even forced us to disband the 6-wheel ancient temple. Sect leader said that Buddha Alliance wouldn't let him off, but he said that Buddha Alliance was nothing and that he was going to wipe them out. 6-wheel ancient temple's elder was filled with grief. He could only hope that sect leader Gu and the others could help. Otherwise, with their strength, how would they be a match for him? Gu Yuan's expression was extremely dark and sunken. He didn't expect that surnamed Lin to actually dare to do that. Chapter 548. What does he want to do? Gu Yuan had never expected that he would face such a thing. He had already discussed with him that Buddha Alliance would recognize their position as a top sect on Marshall Path Mountain. The land they occupied would belong to them, and they could forget about Wangu Temple being wiped out. But now, it seemed like they were asking for a yard. Don't worry, Buddha Alliance will give you an explanation. Gu Yuan consoled the 6-wheel ancient temple elders. They didn't understand why Lin Fan was doing this. Since he wanted to wipe out the sect, then why did he let these elders go? The 6-wheel ancient temple elders thanked Gu Yuan. They weren't sure whether or not Gu Yuan would help them, but apart from Buddha Alliance, who else could they rely on? This matter was really important. Gu Yuan couldn't make the decision alone. Moreover, if he didn't pull other sects in, he would feel really annoyed. He instructed the disciples to arrange for the 6-wheel ancient temple elders to rest. This was a considerable force. If they could take in the White Lotus Sacred Purity Mountain, the sect's strength would definitely grow. Gu Yuan contacted the other sect leaders. Very quickly, the sect leaders who received the news all gathered together. Sect leader Gu, this has nothing to do with us. This, Great Zen sect, old ancestor Tian Chan hesitated. He wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. Gu Yuan said, "Guys, this matter is really serious. If you don't care about it, then maybe we will be next. The current Wangu Tower and 6-wheel ancient temple are good examples. Lin Fan wiped out 6-wheel ancient temple alone. That is impossible. Old ancestor Dao Ling's 6-wheel secret technique is really mysterious, and even we can't say that we can block it. What ability does Lin Fan have?" Great Sun Buddha sects, Saint Ru Fo didn't believe it. Gu Yuan suppressed the rage in his heart. At such a time, all of them still didn't believe the truth. They were just so dumb. Could the elders of the 6-wheel ancient temple be lying? Everyone looked at one another and shook their heads. Sect leader Gu, I didn't mean that. But what can we do now? There are 2 choices in front of us. One is to kill him, and the other is to talk to him. Saint Ru Fo said. If he had to choose, he wouldn't choose either. There was no need at all. Great Sun Buddha sect was doing fine and didn't need to worry about so many things. Wangu Tower and 6-wheel ancient temple were wiped out because they were weak. Let Lin Fan try at Great Sun Buddha sect, and he would teach him a lesson. Sometimes being overconfident was a sin. It made people feel rather helpless. Then go talk to him. Gu Yuan really wanted to kill Lin Fan, but he didn't have any confidence at all. It was different for what he thought. He wanted the alliance to help them get rid of Lin Fan or the other 3 alliances. Yes, I agree. If we go, they won't dare to not give us face. All of the Grandmasters were still extremely confident. They did not think that Lin Fan would dare to not give them any face at all. Gu Yuan looked on coldly from the side and sighed. He felt like things weren't right. But now this was the only way. If they went all out against Lin Fan, Buddha Alliance would suffer heavy losses. This was why Gyuan wasn't willing to fight Lin Fan. At the same time, he was confused. What was going on with Lin Fan? Buddha Alliance didn't offend him, so why did he have to target them? Are Evil Alliance, Monster Alliance, and Celestial Alliance not enough for you to fight? He could just choose any one of them. Why did he have to target Buddha Alliance? News of Six-Will Ancient Temple being wiped out spread to the other 3 alliances. It caused a huge commotion. They didn't expect that Martial Path Mountain Lin Fan would actually attack Six-Will Ancient Temple. There were rumors that Buddha Alliance and Lin Fan didn't come to an agreement. Why did such a thing happen in such a short time? They really didn't understand. They were happy to see such a situation. The more strength Buddha Alliance had, the better it was for them. Poor fellows. Till now, they still didn't understand that Lin Fan had started to attack them. Martial Path Mountain. Lin Fan raised his head and looked into the sky. He smiled. Kiki, they really came quickly. He walked outside. People from Buddha Alliance were here, but there was no need for them to come. It has been tough on all of you to come from afar. Lin Fan stood in the air and said towards the distance. Gyuan led the way and walked out of the dimension. When he saw that Lin Fan was already waiting, he was shocked. Did he notice them so early? But he didn't care much about it. Sect Leader Lin, long time no see. I came today to talk about the Six-Will Ancient Temple situation. Gyuan said. He noticed a familiar building on Martial Path Mountain. His heart jumped. Wasn't that Six-Will Ancient Temple's building? Lin Fan smiled. What is there to talk about? I have already wiped out Six-Will Ancient Temple, and it doesn't exist anymore. There is no point in talking. Gyuan said, Sect Leader Lin, we agreed that Buddha Alliance would recognize Martial Path Mountain as a top sect. At the same time, Wangu Tower's land would belong to Martial Path Mountain. But why did Sect Leader Lin wipe out Six-Will Ancient Temple? Haha. Lin Fan smiled and then shook his head. Sect Leader Gu's words are interesting. When did I agree with all of you? Forget it. There is no point in talking to all of you. Truthfully, I am prepared to wipe out all of your Buddha Alliance sects, not just Wangu Tower and Six-Will Ancient Temple. Do you understand? Initially, he wanted to brag and chat with them for a while, but he felt like he was wasting time. Was there a point in speaking so much nonsense? Was there a need to hide his true thoughts from them? There was no more. Where did his confidence come from? He was too strong. Now, what he was most afraid of was that things would suddenly become quiet. When Lin Fan said these words, everyone was stunned. The Buddha Alliance members who wanted to have a good chat with Lin Fan suddenly quietened down. All of them looked at Lin Fan like they were looking at a retard. Shortly after, haha, you are really making me laugh to death. Wipe out Buddha Alliance? How ignorant must one be to say such words? To them, Lin Fan's words were nothing more than a joke. Not only that, it was an extremely senseless joke. Gyuan frowned. Sect Leader Lin, what do you mean? The Buddha Alliance sects have given you so much face, so why do you have to provoke us so many times? Do you really think that we don't dare to do anything to you? Damn, he had rarely seen such an arrogant thing in his life. Even his father wasn't so arrogant. Lin Fan was unhappy. You make it sound like I'm begging all of you to bear with me. Okay, let's not talk so much. The reason is simple. I came out from U City, and do you remember when my father and I fought with the Alliance 9-star generals? You and Su Yuan Ming, those 2 scumbags, passed by to watch. You can forget about that, but I can't. Buddha Alliance has no sects to exist. No matter who comes, it is useless. Now that all of you are here, I don't want to suppress all of you here. Return to the sect, clean yourself up, and do what you want to do. I will visit each and every one of you and destroy all of you in front of your disciples. Lin Fan's words were just too domineering. His body gave off an alluring and overbearing aura. Arrogant, preposterous. Great Sun Buddhist sect Saint Ru Fo pointed at Lin Fan. Old ancestor has roamed the world for so many years, and I really didn't expect someone to be so arrogant. You're really capable. Old ancestor, don't you want to wipe out the sect? Old ancestor is waiting for you at Great Sun Buddhist sect. Let's see what ability you have. He was really infuriated by Lin Fan. He was so young and just had a bit of cultivation. He was so arrogant and thought that he could wipe out 2 sections, did he really think that he could do whatever he wanted in the world? After St. Rue Fo scolded him, he felt really good and comfortable. Hayes, as expected, he couldn't suppress his temper. Well said. Old ancestor Tian Chan praised him. St. Rue Fo wasn't weaker than Buddha Alliance. Scoff, if we aren't strong, people will look down on us. Sect leader Gu, we came to talk to him, but there is no need now. We won't work together to bully him. Let's just let him try a Great Sun Buddhist sect. Old ancestor Tian Chan said. The main reason was that he wanted to see Great Sun Buddhist sect's ability. From the start till now, Lin Fan smiled and didn't get angry because of his words. He always felt that he was a kind person. He was willing to give people a chance. At the same time, when he wiped out sects, he wouldn't play any tricks. He would definitely tell them before he killed them so that they would be convinced. Gu Yuan's expression was really ugly. He raised his hand and told everyone to be quiet. Sect leader Lin, are you sure you want to tear all pretenses? Kiki, White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain sect leader Gu, is actually not as strong as old ancestor Tian Chan and the others. How disappointing. Lin Fan shook his head in pity and disdain. I've already made things so clear. Do you not understand, or are you afraid? Old ancestor Tian Chan wanted to laugh, but he suppressed it. He felt a little delighted. From the beginning to the end, this was the only sentence that could be considered a human sentence. Gu Yuan couldn't take it anymore. Okay, since sect leader Lin wants to do this, then I will accompany you to the end. I want to see what ability sect leader Lin has to dare to say that he wants to wipe out Buddha Alliance. Even if Evil Alliance and Monster Alliance work together, they don't have the courage. Lin Fan looked at them and said slowly, there is no need to be so emotional. Actually, all of you are quite lucky to be able to go back and prepare. All right, it is okay to tell all of you. The next sect is Great Sun Buddhist sect. If all of you are afraid, then you can work together. The Buddha Alliance people were about to explode from rage from Lin Fan's words. Look, take a look. Was there still a place for him? Moreover, this fellow was really infuriating. Their expressions were solemn and rage burned in their brows. As for Lin Fan, from start to finish, he treated them like he didn't care about anything at all. They were about to explode on the spot. Let's go. Gu Yuan sucked in a deep breath and said with a dark tone. They had already ripped off their pretense with Lin Fan. At the same time, Gu Yuan wanted to let these old fellows see how arrogant the person they didn't care about was. P.S. There are still many things that I haven't written. It is still too early. Chapter 549. The Buddha Alliance sect leaders who left were furious. They cursed along the way. All sorts of nasty words came out of the mouths of the various grandmasters as they scolded Lin Fan. If their disciples heard this, their mouths would open wide, and their mouths would open wide. Was this still the sect leader they knew? Saint Sect Leader, why did you want him ahead to Great Sun Buddhist sect first? Old ancestor Tian Chan asked, although he was happy to see Lin Fan head to Great Sun Buddhist sect first. St. Rufo's actions were a little weird. St. Rufo smiled. All of you are smart. Even if we fought with him, we weren't sure what the outcome would be. Since he was able to wipe out Wangu Tower and Sixwell Ancient Temple, it means that he is really strong. He has probably reached Lin Wani's realm. If we aren't confident in killing him and let him escape, the outcome will be catastrophic. So, I want to draw it to Great Sun Buddhist sect and use the Saint Buddhist Sunfire to refine it. That way, nothing will happen. Instantly, everyone was enlightened. So, St. Rufo actually thought of that. Thinking about it, it made sense. Lin Fan said that he wanted them to return and personally head to the sect. He probably had a reason for that. He didn't want to have any conflicts on Marshall Path Mountain in case of accidents. Gu Yuan said, the Saint Buddhist Sunfire is the top flame in the world. Even Tao Realm Stage 7 experts won't be able to block it. That will work. St. Rufo said, that will work, but it isn't foolproof. I thought about it, and I think that it is best if all of you work together. Old ancestor Tian Chan, based on what I know, your sect has a formation known as the Zen Formation. It is a formation that focuses on killing. If possible, let all of you lay it out. Only then will we be able to ensure that nothing will go wrong. Everyone nodded their heads and agreed with Saint Rufo's suggestion. This old ancestor Tian Chan hesitated and acted like it was a tough task. How could it not be tough? The Zen formation was an important formation of great Zen sect. Based on what Saint Rufo said, they had to share it. From now on, not only would great Zen sect know it, but other sects would too. Why did it feel like this was a trap? Saint Rufo said, "Old ancestor Tian Chan, things have already reached such a stage. Wangu Tower and Six-Will Ancient Temple are both teaching us a lesson. If we don't kill this person, there will be endless problems in the future." Guyuan said, "We need old ancestor Tian Chan to take out the Zen formation, and we do need him to pay a price. Why don't each sect take out a technique and share it with everyone? What do you think?" "Good. As long as we can get rid of that brat, everything will be worth it." Old ancestor Tian Chan was delighted, but he acted really calm. The Zen formation was important, but to be able to learn another sect's secret technique was worth it. Martial Path Mountain. Lin Fan was thinking about something. If he told them to go to Great Sun Buddha sect, they would definitely think of a way to kill him there, although he had only met Saint Rufo a few times. However, to be able to become a sect leader, he was naturally not a simple character. Guyuan would definitely grab this chance and gather everyone to join in. He would lay down a heaven-shocking killing formation and wait for him to arrive. Making a ruckus isn't as good as Great Sun Buddha sect. Going to another sect is a good choice, but that isn't my style. Logically speaking, as long as one's brain was normal, they definitely wouldn't choose Great Sun Buddha sect. But he didn't say that his brain was normal. Sometimes it would even twitch. If he couldn't even face that, then how would he wipe out Celestial Alliance, Evil Alliance, and Monster Alliance? He didn't think that the other three alliances were weaker than Buddha Alliance. Zhao Lishan walked over and said, "Young Master Lin, why did they come?" Buddha Alliance sect leader's arrival really frightened Zhao Lishan. He was old and couldn't be frightened. After all, young Master Lin had just wiped out Six-Will Ancient Temple, and he really thought that they were here to find trouble. They came to negotiate. Lin Fan said. Zhao Lishan heaved a sigh of relief. What happened? To him, he was obviously asking the obvious. They definitely came to an agreement. If not, why would they leave? It collapsed. Lin Fan said calmly. What he didn't know was that when he said those words, Zhao Lishan's expression changed. Collapsed? Collapsed? Zhao Lishan was filled with disbelief. They came to negotiate, so they definitely wanted to make peace. How did it collapse? Although he was annoyed with those top sections. But with the current situation, it wasn't time for him to fall out with Buddha Alliance. Lin Fan smiled. They came to negotiate and wanted to continue being friends with me. But I was annoyed with them, so I didn't agree. Zhao Lishan opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. Don't worry, I know what to do. Don't worry. Lin Fan saw that Zhao Lishan was worried, so he smiled and consoled him. What was there to be afraid of? It was just Buddha Alliance. How could they be a man-eating tiger? Actually, to Zhao Lishan, they were even more terrifying than a man-eating tiger. When Water Emperor and the others learned about this, their expressions were similar to Zhao Lishan's. It is hard to guess what young Master Lin is thinking. But until now, I have never seen young Master Lin do anything he isn't confident in. Don't worry too much. This was what Water Emperor said to them. But in the eyes of the crowd, Water Emperor, you're way too overconfident, aren't you? Zhu Shun teared up. Master Lin, I'm really sorry. It wasn't that I didn't want to have high hopes for young Master Lin, but young Master Lin didn't care at all. The divinator said, based on my observation, Sect Leader Lin is in charge of battles. There's going to be a huge battle. Are you sure? Swordhead trusted the divinator's predictions. If that was the case, then young Master Lin was definitely going to fight Buddha Alliance. The divinator said confidently, I'm sure, I am definitely right. Everyone looked at the divinator, and all of a sudden, they were speechless. This time, Buddha Alliance was really working together. Their goal was simple, which was to suppress Lin Fan, such that he wouldn't be able to rise up and that he would disappear from the world. Old ancestor Tian Chan took out the Zen formation for them to comprehend. All of them were peak experts, and naturally, their comprehension skills were great. They learned things really quickly and comprehended the Zen formation in the blink of an eye. All of them were thinking about that. They were so well prepared, so they didn't believe that he wouldn't die. Gu Yuan wanted to contact Su Yuanming to ask him to help, but forget about it. If he acted too friendly with Su Yuanming, it would affect his future plans, and he might even make others suspect him. With the current situation, they would definitely be able to suppress Lin Fan, and there was no need to be too nervous. Gu Yuan chose to believe in Buddha Alliance's current strength. At the same time, he laughed when he thought about it. He actually thought that Lin Fan was so terrifying. If other people found out, they would probably laugh too. A few days later, Great Sun Buddhist sect. This was the foundation of a top sect, so naturally, it was extraordinary. Even from far away, one could hear Buddhist chants. Compared to White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain's ethereal voice, it was much more holy and solemn. Wong, just at that moment, far away from Great Sun Buddhist sect, the space shook and the dimension ripped open. Lightning exploded and circled around the area like a python. Instantly, a giant fist reached out from the dimension. The fist covered the sky, and space currents wrapped around it that hadn't dissipated. A black fist light shot out like it was about to cover the entire area. Within Great Sun Buddhist sect, the sect leaders were all hiding in the dark. When they sensed the dimension ripple, they knew that it was coming. On long, the shocking fist landed in the sky above Great Sun Buddhist sect and was blocked by a streak of golden light. It continued to shake. The golden light became brighter and brighter. This was Great Sun Buddhist sect protecting golden light. It could block all damage, and even a Dao Realm Stage 7 expert wouldn't be able to shake it at all. This was why when one caused trouble in any top sect, one had to look at one's own strength. If one came to cause trouble, one wouldn't even be able to enter. Saint Ru Fo brought the sect elders and looked over solemnly. This battle was a time to defend Buddha Alliance's honor. So how could they lose face? Dong! Dong! Explosions spread out from all corners of Great Sun Buddhist sect. Numerous disciples smashed the bell, and each time they did, a thread of golden light seeped out and filled up the sect protecting golden light. Scoff! If you can't even break this, then you don't have the right to cause trouble in Great Sun Buddhist sect. Saint Ru Fo said coldly. He wasn't afraid of Lin Fan's arrival at all. He was fully prepared. Lord Buddha, is he the martial path Lin Fan who said that he wanted to wipe out our sect? An elder asked. Lord Buddha was just a term of address within Great Sun Buddhist sect. Saint Ru Fo was called Lord Buddha by all the disciples in Great Sun Buddhist sect. This was a form of respect and also a symbol of the highest status. Saint Ru Fo said, he is the one. But he isn't much. He is just asking to die. The elders nodded their heads. They trusted the words of the Buddha, Lord, very much. Moreover, they also saw that during this period of time, the various sect leaders came to Great Sun Buddhist sect to lay out a huge net. They were all waiting for this moment. To them, this kid was worth it. To be able to make the entire Buddha Alliance pay attention to him was an honor. Even if he died, it would be a worthy death. Suddenly, a phenomenon occurred. The giant pitch-black fist opened its 5 fingers and grabbed onto the protective golden light, exerting force in its 5 fingers. Kacha! There was a shattering sound. Cracks appeared on the sect protecting golden light. Kacha, the cracks spread, and in the end, the entire sect protecting golden light shattered. It turned into golden light and dissipated into the world. So strong. Saint Ru Fo was shocked, but he acted like nothing had happened. He was expressionless, like he didn't care at all. The giant hand disappeared, and the area returned to normal. Shortly after, there was an arrogant laugh. Saint Ru Fo, Great Sun Buddhist sect, I am here. This golden light is not bad, but it is a little brittle. In the distance, Lin Fan walked out from the dimension and walked over with his arms behind his back. He was really calm and didn't panic at all. He smiled and didn't look like he was here to wipe out the sect, but to travel. Saint Ru Fo raged. Lin Fan, if you can't even break this, then you don't have the right to cause trouble in Great Sun Buddhist sect. This is just a test for you. Even at such a time, Saint Ru Fo still cared about his face. He thought that he would be able to block for a while, but who knew that it would be gone in the blink of an eye? That had exceeded his expectations. P.S. Well, I'm weekly asking for a vote count and also a tip. Chapter 550. Saint Ru Fo panicked a little, but he knew that he wouldn't lose out. He was fully prepared, and the fish had taken a bait. So what was there for him to be afraid of? He observed the situation around and felt much more at ease. The sect leaders were all hidden around, and if the situation wasn't right, they definitely wouldn't sit still and do nothing. He was safe. Courage that he had never felt before surged up from his feet. Saint Ru Fo stared at Lin Fan and continued. Lin Fan, Buddha Alliance has a common enemy, and you have provoked Buddha Alliance many times. It isn't that Buddha Alliance doesn't dare to offend you, but that it isn't easy for you to have such cultivation at such a young age. But you are the one who doesn't work hard, so you can't blame anyone else. His words were really high class. Saint Ru Fo's image became taller and more dignified. At that moment, a bright light shone on his body and made him look really majestic. Ha! Lin Fan laughed and nearly spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. He pointed at Saint Ru Fo and scolded, "Are all of you so shameless? You are so calm because you are prepared. To all of you, Great Sun Buddhist sect is really dangerous, and you think that you can keep me here. But I really want to see what your face will look like after you fail." Saint Ru Fo looked at Lin Fan's annoyed face and didn't know what to say. How annoying. But one had to say that Saint Ru Fo was frightened by Lin Fan's overbearing aura. But he wouldn't admit it. Do you think I'm the kind of person who can be scared so easily? What kind of joke was this? There's no point in saying so much. Since that is the case, then please enter the sect. Saint Ru Fo was really calm, and he raised his hand to invite him. The elders and disciples were all in the sect. As the great Buddha in everyone's hearts, he would be famous forever. How could he lose his identity just because of this piece of trash? Lin Fan knew that these people had definitely laid out a shocking killing formation and were just waiting for him to fall into it. To him, these were just small problems, and he didn't care much about them at all. But for some reason, when he saw Saint Ru Fo's calm expression, he felt really annoyed. At such a time, he was still acting cool. That made him really annoyed. If Saint Ru Fo knew what Lin Fan was thinking, he would definitely shout that he was innocent. What did I act cool? I'm just nervous, okay? If you don't know how to speak, then don't speak. You always like to frame people. Come out. The sect leader, will wait for you here. Lin Fan wanted a toy with Saint Ru Fo. Short battles were always so boring. After suppressing Saint Ru Fo, everything returned to normal. It was really boring. Huh? Saint Ru Fo was stunned and didn't expect that Lin Fan wouldn't enter. He smiled in disdain. Why? Sect leader Lin was afraid? Didn't you say that you were going to wipe out my Great Sun Buddhist sect? Why aren't you coming in now? Lin Fan said, I am kind and merciful. I don't want to kill. When I enter the sect, just the ripples alone can kill your disciples. One has to say that you are really cruel. You don't even care about your disciples. I'll stay here and wait for you to come out and fight. Or are you afraid? When Saint Ru Fo heard this, he was furious. Damn you. Were these words even spoken by a human? If you don't come in, how am I going to kill you? But if he went out, it was a little inappropriate. He wasn't confident that he could suppress Lin Fan alone. Scoff, my sect's disciples aren't afraid of death. You said that you wanted to wipe out my sect, so you are already my enemy. There is no need to pretend. If you have balls, then come in. Saint Ru Fo raged. That damn fellow. He was actually so cunning. But he was prepared to not move if the enemy didn't move. If he didn't come in, then he definitely wouldn't go out. Come out. Lin Fan hooked his finger at Saint Ru Fo, and his actions were mocking him. Saint Ru Fo didn't move at all. Come in. Come out. Come in. At this moment, both sides were shouting at each other. Guen, who was hiding in the dark, felt his heart explode. This kid was so cunning. He definitely knew that there was a trap here, which was why he didn't want to enter. But if he didn't enter, then how was he going to suppress him? He could only hope that St. Rue had a way to draw him in. Otherwise, everything would have been for nothing. As time went on, St. Rue slowly exploded. He shouted until his mouth was dry, and he felt really annoyed. Damn, should he enter or not? As the great Sun Buddhist sect's Lord Buddha, when had he done such a thing? It was just so embarrassing. Looking at the way the disciples looked at him, they all revealed a strange expression. Maybe they didn't expect the Lord Buddha to shout at someone for so long. He knew that he couldn't continue like this. If not, he would lose face. St. Rue hollered, "Sect disciples, tell me loudly. Are you all afraid? Are you going to live and die with the sect? Live and die together. Live and die together." The disciples shouted. Their voices were like waves that swept forwards. St. Rue was really satisfied. He pointed at Lin Fan and said, "But look at this person. He said that he wanted to wipe out Great Sun Buddha sect, but he doesn't dare to enter. What does that mean? Cowardice, cowardice, useless. He is afraid of Great Sun Buddha sect. He is afraid of all of us." Lin Fan looked at St. Rue and sighed. It wasn't easy. To trick him in, he even shouted out slogans. He even mocked everyone. This was a talent. The Great Sun Buddha sect disciples cheered. Lord Buddha is right. Cowardice, cowardice, useless. Each wave was louder than the last, and their voices shook the sky. Gu Yuan praised. What a talent. Why didn't he notice that St. Rue was so eloquent? St. Rue stared at Lin Fan. Sect leader Lin, if you are afraid, then scram. How can Great Sun Buddhist sect be wiped out so easily? You are just a weakling who doesn't even have the courage to enter the sect. Ha! Lin Fan smiled. St. Rue it has been tough on you. To let me enter the sect, you're going all out. I know that all of you have laid out traps, but so what? Do you think I will be afraid? I'm just teasing you. You are so anxious that your face is red. Okay, I will satisfy your wish so that when you leave, you will have no regrets. Lin Fan felt that it was about time. There was no need for him to continue. He finally saw through it. St. Rue was really good at acting. Who knew what he would do when he was suppressed? He really wanted to see those scenes. In order to satisfy the little thoughts in his heart, he was a little impatient. He was coming, that guy was coming. St. Rue was delighted. Scoff. Finally, under my endless mocking, he couldn't suppress the rage in his heart and wanted to send himself to his death. Gu Yuan and the others, who were hiding, had solemn expressions on their faces. Next was the most important scene. Lin Fan walked over step by step. Their hearts were also beating slowly. Lin Fan strolled leisurely and looked at the scenery around. He would praise, "This should be the special building of your Great Sun Buddhist sect. As expected, it is not bad. Once this ends, I will take it away." A fierce glow appeared in St. Rufo's eyes. Damn fellow. Would he die if he didn't act cool? He still dared to be arrogant at such a time. Later on, he would cry and beg for mercy. He would say that he shouldn't have come to Great Sun Buddhist sect. When Lin Fan's feet landed in Great Sun Buddhist sect, instantly, the situation around changed. Many pillars of light shot into the sky from all directions. When they reached their peak, the light gathered together and poured down like a waterfall. St. Rue stepped on the ground and hollered, "Destruction." How long? The place where Lin Fan was it instantly spun and the sun and moon flipped. The Great Sun Buddha sect in front of him disappeared, and very quickly the scenery changed. The surroundings were silent and empty. Nothing appeared, and it was as if everything had fallen into chaos. This formation is interesting. Lin Fan didn't panic at all. He looked down, and the ground wasn't there anymore. It was like he was floating in the galaxy. He raised his head and saw a giant nebula spinning. He was like a speck of dust in another nebula. He wasn't eye-catching at all. He wasn't even worth mentioning. St. Rue was delighted. The kid finally fell for it. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. Old ancestor Tian Chan's Zen formation dragged the enemy into another dimension. At the same time, He didn't expect that the Zen formation and Saint Buddha Sun fire could complement one another. When they merged together, their strength increased, and they could kill Tao Realm Stage 7 experts. This was something that Saint Ru Fo didn't expect. At the same time, he had a feeling that after this, Great Sun Buddha sect might be able to become the top sect in Buddha Alliance. After all, only Great Sun Buddha sect could merge Zen formation and Saint Buddha Sunfire. Other sects didn't have such ability. Saint Ru Fo, what are you hesitating for? Kill him quickly. Guyuan and the others appeared with smiles on their faces. But when they saw that Saint Ru Fo was still laughing, they were unhappy. How could he not know what Saint Ru Fo was thinking about? But all of this wasn't important at all. It was better to solve the matter in front of him first before thinking about the future. He is coming, he is coming. Don't panic. He won't be able to escape now. Saint Ru Fo said confidently. Often, confident people would be lucky. But this time, it might not be effective. People who were confident usually died much more miserably than others. How could Guyuan not be anxious? The situation wasn't clear, and no one knew what would happen next. Lin Fan had too many methods. To be able to wipe out Wangu Tower and Sixwell Ancient Temple was enough to prove how terrifying he was. Did these two top sects not have any foundations? Of course they did. But in the end, they were still wiped out. At that moment, Saint Ru Fo grabbed towards the distance, and a lotus building was drawn in. It instantly opened up, and many beautiful petals appeared. A bundle of golden flames was dancing on the lotus platform. Along with Saint Ru Fo's control, the Saint Buddha Sun fire seemed to have a mind of its own as it struck towards the Zen formation. Instantly, it merged into the Zen formation. Don't worry, he will definitely die, Saint Ru Fo said confidently. He trusted the Zen formation and also the Saint Buddha Sun fire. The Saint Buddha Sun fire was the foundation of Great Sun Buddha sect. The first Buddha Lord relied on the Saint Buddha Sun fire to create Great Sun Buddha sect. Who knew how many experts died to the strength of the Saint Buddha Sun fire? As for Lin Fan, who was in the Zen formation, he would definitely end up the same way. P.S. The previous chapter and the current chapter said that the reason why I don't ask for votes or tips during the first chapter is because I know my limits. Hee. Chapter 551. Guyuan and the others controlled the Zen formation and could sense the situation within. Lin Fan was doing really well. When the Saint Buddha Sun fire merged into the Zen formation, they could feel an extremely terrifying power swelling up violently. What terrifying power! Guyuan's expression turned serious, and he started to pay more attention to Saint Ru Fo. This fellow was really good at hiding. Great Sun Buddha sect was so strong, but he had never shown it before. If he hadn't had to deal with Lin Fan this time, who knew when he would have understood Great Sun Buddha sect strength? Guyuan wasn't the only one who had such thoughts. The other sect leaders did too. Great Sun Buddha sect had such ability. The chances of them coming to their territory to wipe them out was really low, and they might even die here. Within the Zen formation, Lin Fan tried many methods. This place seemed to have formed a circular space, and no matter how fast he flew, he couldn't reach the end. In the end, he would return to where he came from. Of course, he felt that this place was decent. Everyone had the dream of flying into the universe. Especially when he was in a nebula, he felt small, and unassuming. It felt really good. Above his head, the nebula that was so far away was also very breathtaking. Looking closely, one could see that the nebula was spinning. It was as vast as the galaxy. But since these old fellows pulled him in, they had to do something, right? They couldn't just let him enjoy the scenery and die. Thinking about it, that was impossible. Suddenly, he realized that the surrounding temperature had become really hot. It seemed like Saint Ru Fo and the others had attacked. A magical voice spread out. It was majestic, fierce, and shook one's heart. The voice went from a buzzing sound to an earth-shattering one. He raised his head and saw that the voice spread out from the nebula above his head. Just at that moment, he noticed that the nebula gave off an extremely bright light. It was eye-catching, holy, seven-colored, and really mesmerizing. Puh! One could see with the naked eye that a seven-colored veil-like wave spread out from the nebula. It was like something was about to come out from the veil. At that moment, a power that could rip apart the sky and destroy heaven and earth spread all around. This was an indescribably huge Buddha. Venerable slowly appeared from the screen of light. The Buddha was red and burning in flames. The light behind him shone all around. In the end, the Buddha sat cross-legged on the nebula. Compared to the Buddha, the already vast nebula seemed so small. As for Lin Fan, he couldn't even be considered as a speck of dust in the face of this Buddha. Is it really that big? Trying to intimidate me with your size is indeed effective. It makes me feel very small. However, whether I can fight or not doesn't depend on my size. Lin Fan raised his head and looked over. His expression was slightly solemn. Buddha Alliance and the other top sects weren't easy to offend. If someone saw this scene, they would definitely roar. Is there something wrong with your brain? How dare you kill your way into the sect alone? In the sect strength is not as simple as a single person. The Buddha didn't know how to speak. He just stared at Lin Fan with a pair of flaming eyes. Instantly, a shocking aura swept over and suppressed Lin Fan's body. Come, let me see how strong Buddha Alliance is. Lin Fan hollered out. Even though his voice was loud, it seemed extremely small in this area. Perhaps it couldn't even be transmitted over. At that moment, the Buddhist venerable moved. Raising his hand, his palm slammed down at Lin Fan. To say that it covered the entire sky was an understatement. This palm was the heavens itself. At this moment, the heavens were descending, bent on crushing all living beings to death. Before the palm even arrived, the pressure had already descended. It was like millions of mountains were gathering together and pressing down on Lin Fan's body. A terrifying storm swept forwards and ripped at Lin Fan's body. If he was still at Tao Realm Stage 4, he would probably be in trouble. But now that he was at Tao Realm Stage 5, he cultivated both internal and external cultivation. His body was extremely strong, and it was enough to block this pressure. At that moment, the star cloud that Lin Fan was at shattered and was wiped out. There wasn't even a speck of dust left. It totally disappeared under this pressure. I'm not easy to bully. Lin Fan hollered out as he pushed both his arms upwards. How long? A muffled sound rang out. A mantis trying to stop a chariot wasn't enough to describe the current situation. At least the forearm of a mantis could be considered big. As for Lin Fan's palms, they were like tiny bacteria on the Buddha's palm. It is really strong and the temperature is really high. That flame has a mysterious power that wants to refine me. The moment they clashed, just like that, Lin Fan made things clear to this Buddha Lord. Lin Fan hollered in rage. He used strength in his palms and pushed the Buddha's palm away. Pung! Pung! The Buddha retracted his palm really quickly, and there was a loud explosion in the air. Just this strength? You are still lacking a little. Lin Fan didn't care whether or not the Buddha heard him. He was just so overbearing and expressed the disdain in his heart. The Buddha didn't have any consciousness. He opened his arms and punched towards Lin Fan. The aura was even stronger than before. As Lin Fan witnessed all of this, his lips curled into a smile. He swung his arm. Even though my body is small, you can't treat me like nothing. The moment he said this, Lin Fan punched forwards and it clashed with the Buddha's fist. How long? Ripples of power spread out in all directions like waves. The power was too terrifying. The Zen formation shook slightly, and it was actually unable to block it. Voila! Flames boiled on the Buddha's fist. Like a fierce tiger, it swallowed Lin Fan. Sizzle! The flame stuck to Lin Fan's body and destroyed his skin. His skin slowly turned black, and he was slightly injured. But such injuries weren't enough to deal any serious damage to Lin Fan. Not enough. Not enough. The temperature isn't enough. Lin Fan's eyes opened wide, and he hollered. A giant demon ape appeared in the air. It hollered in rage and raised its fist to strike the Buddha's fist. Pung! Pung! The ground shook. Even if it was small, its power was enough to pierce through everything. The surface of the Buddha's fist started to cave in. Power accumulated on the fist and slowly spread. At the same time, cracks appeared. Facing Lin Fan's explosive power, even the Buddha formed from Great Sun Buddha Sect's Saint Buddha Sun Fire couldn't block it. Break! Fighting intent burned in Lin Fan's eyes. He slanted his body and clenched his fingers into a fist. Terrifying power gathered, and when it reached its peak, he roared and decided the outcome. Pung! The moment he punched out, everything around him came to a standstill. Slowly, with a kacha, the power continued to spread along the Buddha Supreme's arm. Disappear, the so-called killing move. Lin Fan looked over and was totally calm. He didn't even care about the enemy. If he couldn't even solve this, then what was the point of cultivating? He would have gone home to farm. Pung! Pung! At that moment, the Buddha started to crack inch by inch. His immeasurable body exploded and the Saint Buddha Sun Fire turned into a sun-like fireball that hung high above the stars. You still have a trump card? Lin Fan was shocked. He didn't expect that there would be such a move. This was something he didn't expect, but he didn't fear anything. He was already prepared. No matter what came out, he would just beat it up and there was no need to worry about it at all. As expected, within the sun-like fireball, a black shadow slowly walked out. Lin Fan was really curious about what would come out. Great Sun Buddha Sect was really interesting and had many methods. They were the top sect out of all the sects he was about to wipe out. Luckily, he was lucky and he was calm. He didn't act rashly. If not, he would have died here. How many years has it been? Suddenly, a voice spread out. When Lin Fan heard this, he was slightly shocked. It was obvious that the black shadow that walked out from the sun was the one who spoke. Very quickly, the black shadow appeared in front of Lin Fan, a living person. Are you blind? You can't tell the difference between a living person and a dead person? Lin Fan said. Kiki, you are so hot-tempered at such a young age. You need to change. The mysterious person smiled. But this mysterious person's body was like a type of soul. It was transparent and couldn't be captured. Lin Fan squinted and asked, Are you Great Sun Buddha Sect's final killing move? If that is the case, then there is no need to say more. Come, attack. Great Sun Buddha Sect? What a distant name. Oh, I remember. Who is the Great Sun Buddha sect leader now? The mysterious person asked. Lin Fan said, Saint Ru Fo. He felt like there was something wrong with this person. Was it because he was too strong that he could unleash something indescribable? I don't know him. The mysterious person shook his head. He was really unfamiliar with this name. It seemed like he was the new sect leader after he died. Maybe he understood something, and the mysterious person opened his mouth. Kid, there is no need to be nervous. I have no bad intentions towards you. Let me introduce myself. I am the founder of Great Sun Buddhist Sect, Jia Yi. I have died a long time ago, and a bit of my soul is in the Saint Buddha's Sun Fire. The moment he said this, Jia Yi was shocked. Lin Fan didn't say any nonsense and just punched him. Kid, why are you so hot-tempered? What are you doing? He didn't expect people to be so unfriendly. He just introduced himself, and then he beat him up. That was just too much. Scoff, hot-tempered. I still have to beat you up. My goal today is to wipe out Great Sun Buddha Sect. As the founder, you are the enemy. What is the point of keeping you alive? Lin Fan attacked just like that. He didn't care about anything else. The moment he appeared, he called him a kid. It was like he was really familiar with him. How long? Lin Fan punched and caused Jia Ye's soul to shake. It was showing signs of shattering. Kid, I have something to say. It concerns Pong. A fist of extreme yang hit Kasayapa, causing his broken soul to twist. Cold. Jia Yi returned to the Saint Buddha Sun Fire. Before he left, he only had one thought. Damn, what did Great Sun Buddha Sect's Saint Ru Fo do? Why did he know that he was the founder of Great Sun Buddha Sect and started to fight without saying a word? What rubbish. Lin Fan frowned. He really couldn't take a beating and was just too weak. Suddenly, The Saint Buddha's sun fire retracted and turned into a streak of flames that swept over. It quickly stuck to Lin Fan's arm. Lin Fan pulled down his sleeves and realized that there was a flame mark on his arm. Since the soft approach didn't work, then he used the hard approach. Did he really think that Lin Fan was easy to bully? The moment he said this, Lin Fan took out a knife and was prepared to cut off that piece of meat. This was a vicious person, but just at that moment, the Zen formation shattered and dissipated. He came out again. Chapter 552. Lin Fan didn't expect to come out so quickly. Till now, he didn't know what they were doing. He just destroyed a Buddha venerable and a remnant soul before coming out. He felt a little bored. At this moment, he silently kept his blade. Although he wanted to cut his own flesh to protect his pride as an expert, but he didn't have the hobby of hurting himself in front of others. He rolled down his sleeves and stood with his arms behind his back. His expression was calm, and he giggled. This is Great Sun Buddhist sect's killing move. You used such a weak attack to welcome me. Not only is it proving that your Great Sun Buddhist sect is weak, but it is also an insult to me. You are really successful. You have really succeeded in insulting me. I am very angry now, and the consequences will be severe. Lin Fan wasn't someone who liked to act cool. To others, his words would make them feel like he was really good at acting. But he wanted to prove to himself that that wasn't the case. He was just used to saying things like that. The area was really silent. There was no reaction. There wasn't even any hissing. He raised his head. He realized that St. Ru Fo's mouth was wide open and his eyes were open wide. He stood rooted to the spot, like someone had cast a spell on him. He actually didn't react at all. At that moment, he saw Gun, old ancestor Tian Shan, and the others all appear around. As expected, all of you are here. But why are you in such a rush? I will naturally find all of you. Lin Fan didn't feel like he was in any danger. It was just normal. Only that remnant soul was slightly interesting. His brain wasn't that good. He was so weak and still dared to jump out. So what if he was the founder? Even if the father of the founder came out, he would send him to the heavens. Don't ask why he was so cruel. This was just normal. After Lin Fan came out of the Zen formation, he kept on talking. He insulted Saint Ru Fo. He also criticized the other sect leaders. Logically speaking, the situation should have been one of rage. Everyone should have been furious and said that they wanted to slice Lin Fan into pieces. However, not only did that not happen, everything was very quiet. Everyone was stunned. Everyone knew just how powerful the combination of Zen Buddhism and Holy Buddha Sunfire was. But now, Lin Fan walked out unscathed. What was going on? Suddenly, someone reacted. Old ancestor Tian Shan had no fighting spirit at all. His body shook, and he exclaimed, "Run!" He quickly fled into the distance without looking back. He didn't even want to stay for a moment longer. Reality made him understand what the real situation was. It was irresistible. Even the Zen formation could not hold the other, so what could they use to fight to the death? Guyuan reacted, "Old ancestor Tian Shan, don't leave. Stay, and you can suppress him." In Great Sun Buddhist sect's territory, they had a chance of living. But if old ancestor Tian Shan ran, then their strength would be greatly reduced. How could they fight Lin Fan then? Old ancestor Tian Shan was nowhere to be seen, but his voice spread out. "If we don't leave, then we will die. He has already reached a realm where no one can surpass him and cannot be contended against." Listen carefully. Old ancestor Tian Shan's voice was filled with fear. Lin Fan turned his head and said, "Old ancestor Tian Shan, you are in such a rush. The next sect is Great Zen sect, so be prepared." No one knew if the other party heard it or not. Maybe old ancestor Tian Shan had heard it and was terrified. Or maybe he really didn't hear it, but he was definitely scared to death. What a disloyal thing. St. Ru Fo reacted and cursed. He didn't expect old ancestor Tian Shan to be the fastest. But what happened next nearly made St. Ru Fo spit out blood. Old ancestor Tian Shan running was a good start. The other sect leaders all had their own thoughts, and in the end, they came to the conclusion that staying here meant death. They had to leave this place and return to the sect. Then, maybe they would have a chance of living. Thus, everyone fought to be the first and headed in all directions in an orderly manner. St. Rufo, we tried our best. Don't blame us. Guyuan's face turned red. Guys, come back. Don't leave, don't leave. Helplessness that he had never felt before rose up in his heart. He was really helpless. He had never experienced it before. But now he had been forced to such a state by this brat. Lin Fan looked at all of them flee. He didn't panic at all, and he wasn't anxious at all. He only wiped out Great Sun Buddhist sect today and didn't care about the others. In the future, he had a long time to deal with them slowly. St. Rufo looked at them leave, and his face turned green and white. He cursed in his heart. What a bunch of idiots. Did they think that they could run? Great Sun Buddhist sect was wiped out, and they would be next. He looked at Guyuan, and his gaze became much gentler. He sighed, Sect Leader Gu, I didn't expect that we would die together. Sect Leader Saint, take care. Guyuan cupped his fists and looked at Lin Fan warily. He got up and ran right away. He didn't even turn his head. He was just so overbearing. He left the lonely Saint Rufo alone. At this moment, anything about becoming sworn brothers or brotherhood was just an excuse. Pucci, to St. Rufo, it was like 10,000 arrows piercing his heart. His merciful heart was stabbed. Damn, you bunch of hammers. St. Rufo's heart felt like it was being stabbed, and he was in so much pain that he couldn't pull himself out. Why did you treat me like that? Lin Fan shook his head. He's pitiful. I thought that brothers would be able to break metal. Who knew that you would be so vicious? Maybe this is reality. St. Rufo looked at Lin Fan, and his gaze calmed back down. Sect Leader Lin, I'm not as skilled, so there's no point in me saying more. But I have a request that I hope Sect Leader Lin can agree to. Lin Fan smiled. What is it? Let's hear it. I'm not in a rush. St. Rufo looked at the disciples around. His gaze swept past each of them, and he said solemnly, I know the outcome, but I hope that Sect Leader Lin can let them go. This has nothing to do with them. Please agree to my small request. Buddha, St. Rufo raised his hand and said slowly, Disciples, I was too strict with all of you in the past, but I hope that all of you can grow up. As long as all of you can grow up, is okay, even if you hate me. Now that Great Sun Buddhist sect doesn't exist anymore, all of you can only rely on yourselves. When he said these words, St. Rufo's eyes were filled with tears. He was filled with reluctance, and this emotion spread out and covered all the disciples. When the disciples heard these words, their expressions changed. Some disciples thought back to how strict Buddha was towards them and even scolded them. Naturally, they were furious, but because of the difference in status, they didn't dare to be rash. But to think that the Lord Buddha had such high hopes for them. Some disciples couldn't help but tear up. Buddha, we aren't leaving. We aren't afraid of death, and we swear to live and die with the sect. Right? So what if we face destruction? Although we aren't strong, we won't back down. The disciples cheered. Even in the face of death, they weren't afraid at all. They even had the courage to face death calmly. St. Rufo was touched and wiped his eyes. Lin Fan just looked on. It was quite interesting, and he didn't expect to see such a touching scene. But even if he was touched, there was nothing he could do. He had to kill St. Rufo. Lin Fan said, Even if I beat you to death, I won't touch any of your disciples. Don't worry about that. St. Rufo looked at Lin Fan. I hope that Sect Leader Lin can let them leave first. As for me, I want to have a real battle with Sect Leader Lin here. I know that a calamity is upon us, but as Great Sun Buddhist sect's Buddha, I can only die in battle and not die in humiliation. This is my final explanation to Great Sun Buddhist sect, and also the last glory of Great Sun Buddhist sect. When he said these words, St. Rufo hollered them out. All the disciples heard it. All of them lowered their heads and didn't say a word. Tears flowed down their faces. Only now did they realize how much pain their hearts felt when their sect was wiped out. As for the Buddha Lord, he was like a bright sun that hung high in their hearts. They would never, ever forget him. Okay, I will satisfy your request. Lin Fan said. Thank you. St. Rufo cupped his fists and then looked at all the disciples. Why aren't all of you leaving? His voice was like thunder that reverberated in all their hearts. Buddha, Buddha! The disciples raised their heads and teared up. They didn't want to leave. All of you leave. Don't leave a single one of you. From now on, don't think about Great Sun Buddhist sect. Let it be the only memory in your hearts. This is the last thing I can do for all of you. Seeing that the disciples didn't leave, he hollered once more. If you don't want me to die a miserable death, then scram. St. Ru-Fo hollered. His gaze was strict, and his aura covered all the disciples. In the end, some disciples left. Shortly after, more left. But no matter what, all the disciples looked at Buddha reluctantly. They turned their heads every 3 steps. It was like they wanted to imprint Buddha in their hearts, and they couldn't forget him. St. Ru-Fo looked at the elders. All of you leave. Listen to me and go into seclusion. Don't think about taking revenge, and don't join any sections. They won't treat all of you as one of their own. If you can take in disciples and spread the spirit of Great Sun Buddhist sect. The elders sighed and didn't argue. They nodded and left Great Sun Buddhist sect. After a long while, the disciples all left. Even though they were reluctant to do so, they knew that this was a chance for the Buddha Lord, who was once high and mighty, to beg the other party to give them a way out. Even if they didn't cherish their lives, they couldn't disappoint Buddha. Very quickly, Great Sun Buddha sect quietened down. Compared to how busy it was in the past, it was much colder. Only Lin Fan and St. Ru-Fo were left. Lin Fan said, "Okay, you can show off now. Take out your strength, and I can give you a quick death." To Lin Fan, although St. Ru-Fo wasn't much, he didn't expect him to be so stubborn. It was rare for him to do so much for the sect. Put on. Suddenly, heaven and earth froze. St. Ru-Fo knelt down. He really knelt down right in front of Lin Fan. The fearless expression that he had been maintaining just now disappeared in an instant and was replaced by panic and fear. Sect leader Lin, show mercy. One was filled with thousands of emotions. From low to high, it was like he was singing it in a Beijing accent. P.S. It is Chinese Valentine's Day. Happy he. Chapter 553. Lin Fan was stunned as he looked at St. Ru-Fo. He was really shocked. His thoughts were simple, as expected from the Great Sun Buddha sect god. Even if he knew what the outcome would be, he still wanted to fight to the end. But he really didn't expect that. The so-called fight to the end was actually like this. St. Ru-Fo's heart hurt. He didn't want to die. After Lin Fan broke the Zen formation and ignored the Saint Buddha Sun fire, he had thought it through. If he fought back, he would die. If he didn't fight back, he might have a chance to live. He wanted to kneel a long time ago, but the disciples and elders were all here. No matter what, as the Great Sun Buddha sect god, he had to have some face. He couldn't kneel in front of everyone, so he wanted the disciples to leave first. He didn't want them to see such an embarrassing scene. Suddenly, St. Ru-Fo saw Lin Fan walk towards him, and his heart jumped. Sect leader Lin, I didn't recognize you and actually offended you. I really deserve to die, but you can't blame me. That Gu-Yuan forced me. My Great Sun Buddha sect doesn't compete with others and often likes to help weak sections. We never bully others. Alright, regarding the border matter, my Great Sun Buddha sect really wanted to help, but that Gu-Yuan threatened me. If I dare to help, he would kill all my disciples. My personal safety is a small issue, but I really can't bear to drag down my disciples. St. Ru-Fo was really shameless to live. At the same time, he scolded Gu-Yuan. To him, sect leader Lin and Gu-Yuan had a huge conflict, so it was best if he followed along and scolded Gu-Yuan. Lin Fan stood in front of St. Ru-Fo. You really surprise me. Surprise is good, as long as you don't scare me. St. Ru-Fo lowered himself. He had no choice but to be a coward. As for being a little stubborn, that was impossible. He knew what was going on with Wangu Tower and Ancient Temple. If he was stubborn, he would definitely die with the 2 sect leaders. Lin Fan looked down from above and said calmly, "Didn't you want to fight with me to defend the glory of the sect? Why don't you want to do it now?" St. Ru-Fo smiled and waved his hands. How would I dare? It is my honor to be able to worship sect leader Lin. Compared to this, what is the sect's honor? I really didn't expect that great Sun Buddhist sects, Saint Ru Fo, would actually say such disgusting things just to live. Can't you be more stubborn? Even if I kill you, I will respect you as a man. Lin Fan said. Saint Ru Fo dissed in his heart. A good man was a dead man. A living black bear could at least breathe fresh air. Comparing the two, the black bear was definitely the better one. He knew that the current situation was still very dangerous. The other party had no intention of letting him go. I need to work harder. Lin Fan smiled. Weren't you so fierce before? Out of so many sect leaders, you were the bravest. You told me to come to your great Sun Buddhist sect, but now that I am here, you are afraid. You really disappoint me. Sect leader Lin, you misunderstood. Saint Ru Fo shouted like he was wronged. Sect leader Lin, you might not know, but when I saw you for the first time, I was convinced by your aura and strength. I wanted to follow you, but the situation didn't allow it. Even if I surrendered, sect leader Lin might not believe me. So, I wanted to contact sect leader Lin, so I could only take the initiative to ask sect leader Lin to come to Great Sun Buddhist sect. That was because only then could I open my heart and reveal my thoughts to sect leader Lin. Saint Ru Fo's expression was really real, and he said it like it was real. Lin Fan lowered his head and shook his head. You really are shameless. As long as I can make sect leader Lin believe me, who cares about my face? It isn't worth anything. Saint Ru Fo worked hard. To live, he treated morals as trash. Then, he felt like his words weren't sincere enough. Saint Ru Fo lowered his head and kissed Lin Fan's shoes. Sect leader Lin, please lead this lost lamb. Please. Damn. Lin Fan was helpless. He wasn't afraid of meeting experts, but he was afraid of meeting people who were more shameless than him. Saint Ru Fo didn't live up to his name, and he was the representative of cowards. Lin Fan looked at Saint Ru Fo, who was kneeling on the ground. He actually didn't know what to say, and he didn't come back to his senses. You really make things tough for me. One had to say that Saint Ru Fo was really skilled. Lin Fan just wanted to kill him, and he didn't have any other requests. But now, Saint Ru Fo was so cowardly. He didn't know what to say. He listened to what Saint Ru Fo said at the start. Was that something a human would say? Normal people wouldn't be able to do that. Saint Ru Fo knew what the situation was like. Whether or not he could live depended on this. If he succeeded, then he would be able to live. If he failed, then everything he did before would be for nothing. Sect leader Lin, to prove my determination, I will hand this Buddha heart to you. If I have any other thoughts, sect leader Lin can control my life and death. Saint Ru Fo was going all out. He offered up his Buddha heart. He hoped that Lin Fan could trust him and at the same time live on. Lin Fan was in deep thought. He didn't think that Saint Ru Fo was really charmed by him. He was definitely on the brink of death and had no way out. But because he didn't want to die, he made such a choice. Sensing the Buddha heart, he could clearly sense the relationship between the Buddha heart and Saint Ru Fo. It was as Saint Ru Fo said. If he had any other thoughts, he could kill him with just a thought. But the key was that he didn't need helpers. At this crucial moment, Saint Ru Fo's heart was beating really quickly. Saint Ru Fo's heart was beating really quickly. Truthfully, he was panicking and didn't know what the outcome would be. Would sect leader Lin be willing to accept it? If he wasn't willing to accept it, would he really have no choice but to die? It isn't easy for you at your age. Lin Fan sighed. Saint Ru Fo added, I am old and strong. I can definitely serve sect leader Lin. Moreover, I don't have the impulsiveness of young people. I am as stable as a mountain, and I will fight wherever sect leader Lin tells me to. I won't hesitate at all. His desire to live was just too high. Normal people paled in comparison to Saint Ru Fo. There was no way to compare them at all. Your cowardice is truly admirable. Lin Fan said softly. Saint Ru Fo said right away, Thank you, sect leader Lin, for your praise. I was attracted by your aura, and I definitely wasn't a coward. The moment I saw you, I understood the true meaning of life. All of this requires sect leader Lin's guidance. Take a look. He really knew how to speak. Words that normal people found hard to say came out from Saint Ru Fo's mouth so easily. Lin Fan couldn't take it anymore. Damn, there were many bootlickers, but there were very few of them in the world. Okay, I will accept you. At least you know how to speak. Lin Fan thought about it and had no choice. He could only accept Saint Ru Fo. Saint Ru Fo heaved a sigh of relief. His heart, which had been hanging in the air, was finally at ease. When he was still a disciple, his teacher told him that cultivation wasn't much. The key was to be able to speak, and that this was more precious than any life-saving method. At that time, he didn't understand. But now he finally understood. Teacher didn't lie to him. But at that time, he only learned a little bit. His true ability disappeared along with his teacher. Thank you, Sect Leader Lin, for your guidance. From today onwards, I will listen to Sect Leader Lin, and this great Sun Buddha sect will just disappear. The moment he said this, Saint Ru Fo destroyed Great Sun Buddha sect's buildings. His voice was like thunder, and he caused a huge commotion that caused the ground to shake. He did this for no other reason. He did it so that the disciples who left could sense what was happening here. Your Lord Buddha wasn't afraid, and he really fought with them. No matter whether or not they saw it, just from the sound and the commotion, it was definitely the case. Saint Ru Fo was a hard-working old man. He was quite smart. Lin Fan didn't expose him and allowed him to act. If he was exposed one day, he wouldn't be able to keep his face. But he was thinking that since Saint Ru Fo was so shameless, he had to have thought of a way out. Even if he was noticed, he could use some random reasons to bluff them away. As expected, those disciples who left were infected by Saint Ru Fo. They turned their heads and were so far away that they couldn't see the exact situation of the sect. They could only see an outline. But the tremors spread towards them, and they felt like the ground beneath their feet was shaking. Lord Buddha, the disciples all cried. They were infected by the spirit of the Lord Buddha, even if they didn't close their eyes. In their minds, they recalled the scenes when the Lord Buddha's spirit left. Those were scenes that they would never be able to forget. Marshall Path Mountain. Saint Ru Fo's arrival shocked everyone on Marshall Path Mountain. Zhao Lishan didn't dare to believe his eyes. Great Sun Buddha sect leader actually followed him over. Moreover, his humble posture in front of Lin Fan would forever remain in their eyes. If they hadn't personally witnessed it, he wouldn't have believed that this was the truth. The first thing Lin Fan did after returning was to settle the special building of Great Sun Buddha sect. Then, he left alone. He had to deal with a mark on his arm. He had a tattoo at such a young age. That just didn't feel right. Saint Ru Fo. A bunch of people surrounded Saint Ru Fo and wanted to ask him about the exact situation. But Saint Ru Fo was really calm and obviously wouldn't tell them the truth. It was normal to be shameless in front of Lin Fan, but if he acted shameless in front of others, then that would be an insult to himself. Don't ask anymore. I have already died, and now I am a new me. My memories will start from this moment. I have forgotten everything in the past, and I don't want to recall it. I hope that all of you can understand. He was just acting dumb. Anyway, no matter what they asked, he wouldn't answer. It wasn't easy for him to stay alive. Chapter 554. Marshall Path Mountain Courtyard Pavilion. Lin Fan sat there solemnly. There were several dangerous items placed on the stone table. A long sword, a machete, and a chipped kitchen knife. He laid his arm flat on the stone table. He opened his sleeves and looked at the patterns on his skin. He was in deep thought. Fortunately, Gozi wasn't beside him. If not, he would have hugged Lin Fan's leg and said, "Young master, don't do that. If you leave, what will happen to me? I know you can hear me. I will give you a chance to scram out and negotiate. If not, I will dig you out. Don't think that I am joking with you. Don't test my patience. My patience is limited." He was bluffing him. When he faced that guy in the Zen sect, he knew that this guy was trash, an existence that could be destroyed with one punch, but he did not expect that he would turn into a ball of flame. With a whoosh, before he could react, the flame merged into his arm. Who knew what that thing was? No matter what it was or how important it was, to Lin Fan, he didn't need it at all. There was no movement, no reaction at all. Damn. Lin Fan was infuriated. Who was he looking down on? He said it really quickly. Lin Fan didn't say a word. He placed the kitchen knife on his arm. It was obvious that he was going to chop. Lin Fan tried to sense the situation of the patterns. But regretfully, there was nothing weird. It was like it really was a pattern. Because of that, Lin Fan was a little nervous. Who knew what would happen next? Great. Since that is the case, then don't blame me. Lin Fan was a vicious person. He didn't like to use his brain against the unknown and just liked to fight head-on. He definitely wouldn't go wrong if he used a knife to chop you. His skin softened. Dual cultivator, his physical body was too strong. How could a normal kitchen knife hurt him at all? Poochie. He chopped wrongly. Never. Very quickly, a blood pillar appeared. In the distance, the young master walked over with a carefully brewed soup, but suddenly his eyes widened, and he looked forward. Quang dang. The soup in his hand fell to the ground. The porcelain shattered, and he exclaimed, "Young master, Great Zen sect." After old ancestor Tian Chan returned from Great Sun Buddhist sect, he had an uneasy expression on his face. His mind was filled with thoughts of what happened in Great Sun Buddhist sect. Martial Path Mountain Lin Fan's strength was too terrifying. The Zen sect and the Holy Buddha Sun Fire were unable to suppress the other party, and were even broken through by the other party. Him fleeing on the spot was the wisest choice. He clearly knew that Lin Fan, who could break through the Zen formation and the Holy Buddha Sun Fire, was not someone they could deal with. Did he reach Dao Realm Stage 8? But this thought was quickly tossed to the back of old ancestor Tian Chan's head. Impossible. It was impossible for him to reach Stage 8. Maybe it was because his strength had reached a level that normal people couldn't reach in Dao Realm Stage 7. That must be it. None of this was important right now. The main point was that Lin Fan said that his next target was Great Zen sect. This was truly fatal. What could he use to fight with them? Even if he used his head, he wouldn't be able to block it. Old ancestor Tian Chan stood on the platform, and everywhere he looked was Great Zen sect's territory. The disciples were all busy cultivating, and they looked like they were in high spirits. He simulated and told everyone in the sect that in a short while, a terrifying enemy would arrive, and he would wipe out Great Zen sect. Maybe they wouldn't die, but he would, so let's flee together. Damn, what would happen if he said that? Without even thinking, he would definitely not flee and fight to the death. But the crux of the matter was that while you wouldn't die, I would. The six Will ancient temple disciples told them that Lin Fan wouldn't attack the disciples and would only kill the sect leader. Just this point alone was enough to kill them. Old ancestor Tian Chan paced back and forth. He found it hard to decide what to do. Should he stay in the sect and use the entire sect to fight him? Just thinking about it, he knew that he was thinking too much and that it was impossible. How was Great Sun Buddhist sect prepared? They were really prepared, but everyone saw the outcome. Tell everyone in the sect that their sect leader was about to be killed, and he was afraid. He wanted to avoid the battle, so he suggested to move the sect and flee. If he really said that, it would be really embarrassing. It would be really difficult. But apart from that, there was no other way. He thought about leaving alone and not caring about anyone. He wanted to take all the sect's treasures and roam the world. He wanted to find a place where no one could find him and hide. In the future, when Lin Fan was beaten to death because he was too arrogant, he would appear and restore his glory. Maybe this is the best way. Old ancestor Tian Chan muttered to himself. Since he thought about it, he couldn't shake it off. Before that, he had to do something. Something that he would regret in the future. How is the sect leader? Was that thief killed in Great Sun Buddhist sect? I didn't expect there to be such a stupid person in the world. Even his father wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Old ancestor Tian Chan was really calm. He looked at how the elders were scolding, and his heart felt cold. They were all so confident. They were the same as him before the Great Sun Buddhist sect incident. Silence. Old ancestor Tian Chan raised his hand and said, "Great Sun Buddhist sect has been wiped out, and there won't be a Great Sun Buddhist sect anymore. Next will be the other top sects, so I want to ask what all of you think." Uproar. The elders looked at one another, and it was obvious that they didn't expect such an outcome. All of a sudden, the entire place was silent. Everyone kept silent. Sect leader, we can't back off. Great Zen sect is a top sect in Buddha Alliance. So how can we back off just because of one person? We swear to die with the sect. Right? Great Zen sect has been established for hundreds of years and has always been here. This place is not only the foundation of the sect, but also the symbol of the sect. We would rather die standing than kneel down in humiliation. The elders were really excited. They were all thinking about the same thing. They heard that Lin Fan would only kill the sect leader and wouldn't drag down anyone else. The sect leader definitely wanted to see how many people were on his side. No matter whether or not Lin Fan would only kill the sect leader, they had to let the sect leader feel warmth and the sect's hopes for him. Old ancestor Tian Chan's heart shook. They wanted him to die. Originally, he wanted to tell them that they were facing a calamity and why not move the sect to avoid it. Who knew that the elders' words would block that question? What about not being the foundation, but the sect's glory? A bunch of liars. Okay, since that is the case, then I will fight with him. Old ancestor Tian Chan's expression was solemn, like his heart was filled with fighting spirit. He definitely wouldn't back down and definitely wouldn't retreat. He would just fight him. We swear to die with the sect. The elders scoffed. That night, old ancestor Tian Chan, who was filled with sadness and despair, left quietly. He took away the sect's treasures and didn't tell anyone. He just placed a stone plaque at the place where he was in seclusion. He was in seclusion and didn't want to disturb him. The elders tossed and turned and found it hard to sleep. They were thinking about other things. Some elders understood what the sect leader was trying to say, but they couldn't agree and couldn't agree. The sect's pride couldn't be harmed. Even if they were wiped out, it was better than not fighting and fleeing. They saw the sect's glory as more important than their lives. Buddha Alliance's top sects were wiped out. Wangu Tower, Sixwell Ancient Temple, and Great Sun Buddha Sect. To Buddha Alliance, they suffered heavy losses. If one didn't personally experience it, no one would believe it. Some sects really moved to hide from Lin Fan. They knew better than anyone else whether or not they could fight Lin Fan. The conclusion they got was that if they fought, they would die. But there wasn't anyone like old ancestor Tian Chan who ran away with the entire sect's treasures. White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain. Gu Yuan's face was dark and sunken. He felt that things couldn't be changed. The outcome was already decided, and it was impossible to change it. He wanted to gather all the sect leaders in Great Sun Buddhist sect to fight Lin Fan to the death. But in the end, he underestimated the human heart. Moreover, Lin Fan was really cunning. He only suppressed Saint Ru Fo in Great Sun Buddhist sect and released the other sect leaders to give them a chance to think and even a chance to flee. So at that time, with old ancestor Tian Chan as the leader, how could they fight Lin Fan to the death? They would have tried to flee. If Lin Fan stopped all of them, they would have been in despair. Let them fall into a desperate situation. Perhaps that would be the best time to gather power. If Lin Fan knew that Gu Yuan was so full of thoughts, he would have been impressed. He didn't think so much. Why do I always have to find a reason for everything I do? As expected, things have gotten out of hand. Gu Yuan's head hurt, and there was nothing he could do. He really didn't know what to do. He didn't need to guess and knew that the other sects would definitely flee. Even if they didn't flee, they were prepared to fight to the death. Gu Yuan didn't fear death, but sometimes he felt that it wasn't worth it. There were many things he had to do, and he couldn't just be clueless. Lin Fan was really strong. In the past, he felt that he could suppress him, but after personally experiencing it, he knew that there was no hope. Find the other 3 alliances for help. Forget it. He would be inviting a wolf into his home. How would they help White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain? Maybe at that time, not only would they not be able to help the sect survive, but they would also attract a bunch of wolves. Gu Yuan's head hurt. He had no choice. He could only gather the elders to discuss this matter. To White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain, this concerned their survival and also his own safety. If they didn't deal with it, their lives would be in danger. Sect leader, since that is the case, then we can only close the sect. Right, since we can't block it, then fighting head-on is just stupid. As long as White Lotus Saint Purity Mountain is there, the future will still be ours. Even if thousands of years pass, as long as the legacy is there, it will always be White Lotus St. Purity Mountain. The elders kept silent for a long while, and in the end, they all voiced out their thoughts. If old ancestor Tian Chan had these elders who cared about him, he would definitely laugh and cry. P.S. Cousin's 20th birthday, and we are having dinner tonight. There are 2 more chapters that I will write later. I have already turned over a new leaf. Chapter 555. Go Z. You don't have to stare at me like that. I'm really fine. I am just trying something. Lin Fan was helpless. In the end, he was seen, and Go Z saw him. How could he let that happen? Go Z's loyalty was undeniable. A day had passed since he sliced off his flesh and destroyed the picture, but Go Z still didn't sleep. No matter where he went, he followed. When his back faced Go Z, he felt like a pair of weird eyes were staring at him. Young master, do what you want to do. I will just watch. Go Z said. He personally witnessed young master hurting himself. Fresh blood spurted out, and he nearly fainted. He was in deep thought. He thought about everything that happened recently. He didn't expect that young master would suffer such a huge blow. Why did young master hurt himself? Haze. Lin Fan sighed. The picture didn't disappear, and Go Z even thought that he was hurting himself. That really made him feel helpless. The picture on his arm was still really clear. He sliced off a piece of flesh and recovered it. The picture was still there. It was obvious that he was being targeted, but it didn't matter. Lin Fan, had seen all sorts of storms along the way. How could he possibly be afraid of a mere picture? Anyways, it was best if he didn't do anything. If he did, he would smash his head. Everyone knew about what happened in Buddha Alliance. When the other 3 alliances found out about it, they all thought that it was impossible. Was Lin Fan asking to die? Or did he want to poke a hole in the sky? There was no doubt about Buddha Alliance's strength. They were really strong, and it was already a miracle for him to wipe out 1 or 2 sects alone. Now, he actually wanted to fight against the entire Buddha Alliance. Wasn't he asking to die? But the truth was like that. Great Sun Buddha sect was wiped out. Those disciples who were sent away were scattered all over. As long as one tried to find them, one would be able to find them. The people from the 3 alliances were waiting to see what White Lotus St. Purity Mountain Gyuan would do. After all, White Lotus St. Purity Mountain had a high status among the top sects in Buddha Alliance. Facing such a situation, they would definitely be chosen as the leader. To the people from the 3 alliances, they didn't think that the matter was so complicated. They just thought that Lin Fan had a problem with Buddha Alliance. Hell Mountain. Zhenming. News spread from the natives that Lin Wani's son attacked Buddha Alliance and wiped out 3 top sections. What do you think he wants to do? Yin Kuan asked. As the leader of Hell Mountain, he was sensitive to all sorts of news. Especially Lin Fan's ability, it made him wary. To be able to wipe out 3 top sects and not be suppressed, wasn't his strength a little strong? How would Zhenming know what Lin Fan wanted to do? Yin Kuan didn't understand. Even he didn't understand. He had already reminded Lin Fan that there was a huge conflict within the alliance, and if he wanted to attack the alliance, it was a good time. But who would have thought that Lin Fan wouldn't take this matter to heart at all? To Zhenming, Buddha Alliance was a good helper against the alliance. If they lost one sect, they would lose a portion of strength. This should be their internal conflict. When the alliance attacked the border, no sect was willing to help. Now, it seems like they're taking revenge. I think a war is about to erupt. Zhenming could only say what he guessed. But what he didn't know was that the Buddha Alliance top sects either ran or conned. They didn't think about fighting Lin Fan at all. But all of this isn't important to us. Now that the conflict within the alliance has intensified and the commander and Xiang and Tian are fighting, some small cities are in chaos. Our chance to shake the foundations of the alliance has arrived. He had waited for this day for too long. All sorts of seemingly unassuming things gathered together and formed a whirlpool that could swallow a person. The contact person that the Alliance headquarters placed in Hell Mountain didn't think that he was noticed, but he didn't know that he had become an important chess piece in Zhenming's hands. He sent a messy message back. That was enough to give the Alliance headquarters a headache. Great Zen sect. Lin Fan floated in the air and looked at the sect below. He couldn't help but laugh. Old ancestor Tian Chan was really stubborn. Things had already reached such a stage, and he still dared to stay here. Old ancestor Tian Chan, I am already here. Why aren't you coming out? A voice spread out and swept the entire Great Zen sect. The Great Zen sect disciples raised their heads and realized that there was actually someone standing in the air. They had heard a little about what happened recently. There was an annoying fellow who stirred up Buddha Alliance and caused a huge commotion. But to them, their cultivation wasn't high enough, so they weren't able to come into contact with more insider news. Now that he came to Great Zen sect, they didn't panic at all. This was Great Zen sect, and they had their sect leader and elders. So what if he came? What could he do to Great Zen sect? Xiao, Xiao, Xiao. The elders moved. They knew that Lin Fan would come, and they were furious. After all, it wasn't something to be proud of for someone to attack their sect. Sect leader Lin, I have been waiting for you for a long time. The top elder stared at Lin Fan in rage. I didn't expect you to really come. Lin Fan searched and didn't see old ancestor Tian Chan. He said impatiently, Stop talking nonsense to me. Where's your sect leader? Tell him to come out. He was just too arrogant. Normal people definitely wouldn't be able to take his tone. Surnamed Lin, don't be too arrogant. The sect leader has been in seclusion ever since he came back, because he was waiting for you. This elder's voice was rather loud. He then raised his hand. Go, inform the sect leader that he's here. Then, some elders left quickly. This battle concerned the safety of the sect, so the sect leader had to lead them out of this predicament. Lin Fan was in deep thought. Was that true? Did old ancestor Tian Chan really have such courage? He doubted that. Old ancestor Tian Chan was the first to run in Great Sun Buddhist sect. If he hadn't led the way, there might have been a huge battle there. But it didn't matter. Courage was a good thing. Of course, he wouldn't be merciful. St. Ru Fo was an accident. The main reason was that he was too shameless and caught Lin Fan off guard. Lin Fan wasn't able to react and gave him a chance. Thus, if old ancestor Tian Chan was as shameless as St. Ru Fo, he wouldn't care about him. Not long later, the elder who went to inform the sect leader returned. His expression was really ugly, and one could see beads of sweat seeping out from his forehead. Has the sect leader come out? The elder asked. When he asked, his eyes locked on a Lin Fan. It wasn't that he was wary of Lin Fan, but that he was sizing him up. What kind of person dared to be so arrogant? He didn't feel like there was anything special about him. He was just average. He didn't have 3 heads and 6 arms. But one had to admit that Lin Fan's cultivation speed was too quick. To reach such a realm at such an age was just unbelievable. No one didn't want to know his true secret. At that moment, the elder was so anxious that his forehead was covered in sweat. Even his palms were covered in sweat. He went to inform the sect leader and shouted outside. It was really quiet inside, and no one replied at all. He thought that the sect leader was in secluded meditation and didn't hear it, so he shouted a few more times. Still, no one replied. For some reason, the situation made him panic. He carefully pushed the door open and realized that there was no one inside. Not to mention the sect leader, there wasn't even a cockroach. The elder frowned. Where is the sect leader? The elder looked at Lin Fan and then at the elder. He said softly, Sect leader, he is not here. What? The elder exclaimed. He was stunned. What a joke. How could the sect leader not be here? The sect leader personally said that he was in secluded meditation. During this period of time, they didn't see the sect leader come out. So how could he not be here? Lin Fan said, It seems like old ancestor Tian Chan ran, and all of you are kept in the dark. How pitiful. Impossible. The elder didn't believe it. He didn't believe that the sect leader ran. But sometimes he had no choice but to believe it. Old ancestor Tian Chan swept away all the treasures of the sect and disappeared into the crowd. Okay, I am too lazy to talk to all of you. Now that old ancestor Tian Chan ran, it is your problem. Do you want to disband the sect, or do you want to struggle? I will leave it to you to decide. Lin Fan pointed at the elder and said, to the elder, he really couldn't accept such a reality. The key problem was he was just the elder and not the sect leader. When Lin Fan charged into Great Zen's sect, naturally, the sect leader was the one who decided things. He just needed to look on from the side and occasionally cheer him on. He didn't need to participate. Now, the sect leader was gone. The matter of deciding the life and death of the sect fell on his shoulders. The pressure was huge. It was like a mountain was pressing on his body. It made it hard for him to breathe. The elder noticed that all the disciples were looking at him. His throat felt like it was being choked. He wanted to say something, but it was hard for him to say it. To many elders, they found it hard to believe that this was the truth. How could the sect leader run? Not only did he abandon the sect, but he was also going to be cursed. But as elders, how would they know how terrifying the sect leader's burden was? He knew that he couldn't win. So why did he still fight? Lin Fan had no more expectations for Great Zen's sect and raged. Your sect leader ran and abandoned all of you here. I will count to 3, and if you don't scram, then all of you can forget about leaving. Don't talk too much nonsense to me. I'm not interested in your nonsense. 1. Lin Fan's words caused a huge uproar. It could be said that there was a huge uproar, especially when the elders looked at one another. When Lin Fan counted to 2, they didn't hesitate at all. They didn't even bother about the disciples and just headed into the distance. When the disciples realized that the elders had run, they didn't dare to hesitate anymore. They all fought to be the first to run out. Oh my God, sect leader abandoned us. Elder abandoned us. Why were we so pitiful? That was what all the disciples were thinking. But it was good that they could keep their lives. As for other things, they didn't care. After all, they were just disciples. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.